Thank you, snowboarding.
Thank you, snowboarding.
Hey friends, how you doing? My name is Chris Cracknell. This is Thank You Snowboarding, the podcast that is all to do with UK snowboarding culture and history. And we do this with the kind support of our friends at the Snowboard Asylum, who have a sale on. They've got more knowledge and understanding of what you might need for your next snowboard trip, whether that's on snow, on dry slope, or in a dome. So if you are needing some kit and you want a bit of a bargain, then go and see the guys at the TSA right now. How you doing? The season is motoring along. We are now in mid-March and there aren't many episodes left. But this episode is an absolute treat. It's with a guy called Jonathan Weaver, who some of you might remember seeing his photo in the magazines. He was no slouch on a snowboard, as we talk about. He had a mean frontside Rodeo 7 on him, off his toes, which that Japanese rider tried bringing back in the half-pipe, which is insane. I don't think I've ever seen one done in a half-pipe before. But yeah, John Weaver, he did a lot of snowboarding, and then he went on to work for Burton and Forum back in the day, and eventually took the team manager role at Nike when they had their foray into snowboarding, and has worked with basically all the legends: Nico Mueller, Gigi Ruff, Haldor Helgeson, and he has some stories about all that. But he also did a lot of work for the AIM series, the AIM School series, which seems to be popping up in conversation quite a lot recently, and just an all-round nice guy that, although we've moved in each other's orbits, we've probably never sat down and had a chat with each other. So a real treat to make a new friend and to get to know someone new who I've kind of known about for a long, long time. So let's get straight into it. This is a long one. Let's go. Jonathan Weaver. I've been enjoying your Instagram, where you've been showing pictures of whatever meetings you're having of resisting the hobnobs.
Yeah, well, it's you know how that is when you go somewhere and everyone's trying to be polite, and then they plonk down a plate of biscuits right in front of you. And I think it's probably most people have got the same problem. But once I have one biscuit,
oh yeah, then the packet's going down.
So I'm like, if I just don't engage in this, I'll be fine. So,
how are you getting hobnobs in Portugal?
That was in Oslo. I was up in Oslo this
right.
week for work, and I don't know where they got those from. There's a few English people who work up there, and there's a woman who she always brings her own decaf tea bags,
nice.
Which I know you're a fan of.
I'm a fan of the decaf tea bag.
And
how do you know that? Have I mentioned it?
Yeah, it was in one of your. I think you were with Will or someone, one of your episodes, and you were talking
yeah.
Getting a decaf tea bag, which I'm quite partial to. And so we have this woman who works with us in merchandising, and she lives in London somewhere, and she always comes out to Oslo, and she rations out her tea bags. And one day she comes to me and she's like, "Do you want to share a tea bag?" I was like, I haven't heard that since my grandma was around.
I remember once when we were younger, my mum and dad went away for the weekend or something, and we, for fun, there was a big mountain of used tea bags, and we hung them out on the line.
Oh,
just for a laugh. When my mum and dad come back, they'd be like, "What the fuck?" And my mum actually really lost. She got really upset. She was like, "What are the neighbours gonna think if we're like having to dry out and reuse our tea bags?" I was like, "Mum, it's a joke. It doesn't matter."
Yeah. Oh man.
I hadn't thought about that until you mentioned that. So, where do we start with you? I'm very aware that we've never really had a proper conversation, even though we've. Well, I mean, I've known you. I remember. Were you living at Vicky Miller's apartment in Teen in the summer?
I was.
I came out for what ended up not being the week that I thought I was getting there.
Oh, because you were seeing her at some point, right?
I was, well, that was the thing. I thought I was seeing her, and I came out to see her, and it sort of became apparent that we weren't seeing each other. And
okay. Well, that was not my doing, because I definitely
no. I didn't hold you responsible at all for that.
Yeah, because I remember seeing you at High Wycombe, I think, and it's been interesting. I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and I've been very intrigued. The number of people, like even I was just listening to Chris Carr's one just
Right.
now, with cooking,
Yeah.
and it's very cool the way that you're able to be like, there's a lot of people who, like Chris Carr, for example, would be a good one for me. Like I've known him, and we've had a few chats, but we've always been in the same circle, but not
Yeah.
really ever probably spent a whole day together or anything. So I think
Yeah.
it's very good the way that you're doing this. Obviously, there's some which have been very, very close to home and fun, like Tom Kingsnorth, which was one of my favorites. But then there's also, I think, some of the ones you've done, like Russ Shea. I mean, I spent a couple of years sort of in and around Russ
Right.
on the sort of dry slope thing, but I never realized the impact, like, or I mean, I didn't realize he put down his credit card to start the reason.
No, I
And,
didn't know that either.
there's a lot of that. And then also Danny's one. Like I was sort of Danny Wheeler fanboy number one. And
Does he know that?
I don't know. I don't know. I just remember being, I mean, I remember buying like an old used board from him and various other,
Really?
just because he was tall. And I
Yeah.
was always like, oh yeah. But I don't know the way you got Danny to sort of open up about everything. Because obviously I watched everything there was of him, looked
Yeah.
at every magazine, but you never really actually heard from him.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the beauty of a podcast. You get to have 2 hours with someone and actually get into, because it was very interesting in his reflections where he was talking about, well, I only had a couple of years at the top. And I was like, fuck, like in my mind, you were at the top for about 10 or 15 years. That's
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
so it's interesting how some people see their career versus others' perception of them. Yeah, well, it's also interesting because I think I don't know, when people went off and did their thing or like went to different resorts,
Yeah.
and before social media, you were just like, it wasn't that anyone lost contact with people on purpose, but you're just like, I haven't seen that person in a few years.
Yeah.
And, as soon as you see them again, everyone's very, very friendly and stuff. But I suppose just at that point, it was like, oh, someone's gone to do seasons over there now. And then you just wouldn't see them for a little while or until Boardex or whatever.
Yeah. Well, like talking with Chris, like he went to Austria when nobody else was going to Austria. So all of a sudden,
Yeah.
your paths aren't going to cross like they would have done with Will, or
Yeah.
go over to the Three Valleys and see Moran, and sort of you'd see people sort of throughout the season. Whereas like it's like, well, I won't be going to Austria anytime soon. So there was a whole thing going on over there that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
And I've got that written down here. I definitely want to know about the hunger pain thing.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
But I guess, well, am I right in you were Chatham Dry Slope?
Yeah. So I suppose, so I first started skiing at Chatham. So
Right.
my mum was very, very good at just like, right, try this sport, try that sport. So I remember like played football growing up and then played a bit of rugby, hated it. And then in the summers, I remember there was sort of going to like you would try canoeing and you would try, I don't know, some other like random stuff.
Yeah.
And one of those random things was skiing, and we go up to Chatham Dry Slope, and I don't know, I must have been 10 or 11, and it clicked, and I was like, oh, so this is pretty fun, and had a few lessons, and then figured out like going up to the first lift exit, and then
Yeah.
second, and then yeah, I skied there for a couple of years, and then we got to go on a ski trip with the school. I think I don't know, must have been like 12 or 13 or something,
Yeah.
and just skied, and that was great. And then I didn't ski for a while because I don't know about you, but I had like strange growing pains in my knees. So I sort of
Oh, really?
it all felt a bit, yeah. And I was playing a lot of football, so I stopped for a couple of years. And then when I was around, I think 16, picked up the skiing again. And then they had a school skiing trip planned. I don't know where it was to, and went there with the school. And then on the last day, they were like, well, if everyone's good, you can try snowboarding on the last day. And I think there was only two people or somebody who actually wanted to try it. And so we got, and we'd been talking. I don't remember too much. I just remember it was an English run chalet. So there was like English chalet girls, boys, etc. And so I tried snowboarding on the last day, and I'm sure like everyone, but like before there was really lessons, like they just give you you keep your ski boots, you get a hardboard.
Yeah, yeah.
I definitely remember slamming a lot, and then one turn was easier than the other, and then when you get that second turn and you do two in a row, like from that moment on, you're literally just like, oh, well, that's it. And I distinctly remember like at the end of that, and I think we'd gone for about 2 hours, got back on the bus to go back to the hotel, and I said to the PE teacher, Mr. Cox, I was like, well, I'm going to go and do a season now. I'm going to go snowboarding. And he's like, you're going to do what? Because this girl in the hotel had told me that she was living in this hotel for a year just skiing, or for 5 months skiing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's obviously something is possible.
There's the pathway.
Yeah, so I was like, right, that's what I'm going to do. And we went back, told my parents, who weren't, they weren't very happy because this has come out of nowhere and they were expecting me to go to university. And we were quite behind. Like, I don't know, we went to a sixth form, we were super behind, like, and everyone was just slacking off. And once I found snowboarding it was at January of the second year, I got back and I was like, right, I'm going to finish this course and get out of here. I've got to.
Yeah.
Bought a Discman, bought the 2-pack album, All Eyes on Me. Mate, listen to that on repeat. Finished the coursework early, started working, saved up some money, and then I applied for a job. And so my first like actual snowboarding was actually doing a season in Val d'Isère.
No way. What year was that? Well,
I did write some of this down because anything before the iPhone,
No. I mean, you did actually send me a message just saying anything before 2007. I don't know.
I think it was the winter of 97, 98.
Okay.
And so I went there to do a season working in a bar. Like
Which bar was it then?
It was upstairs in La Forêt.
Okay. So, yeah.
You had the downstairs bar, and then there was a first choice run hotel upstairs called La Forêt.
Yeah.
And I didn't. It was funny because I went to the job interview that summer. Like everyone goes to London, they do these interviews, and they're like, right, the things you can't apply for are a barman job or to work in Val d'Isère because that's what everyone wants.
Right.
So, and I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just get any job you've got. And the letter came back like a few weeks later, and it's like, right, you've got a job in Val d'Isère, you're a barman. It's like, this is mental. So, we all get up to London the first week of December, jump on a bus, and then. Even now when I think back to it, the fact that they would basically just give the keys of a hotel to 15, 18-year-olds who are untrained, useless, and just want to get drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
And they're like, right, you have to look after 60, 70 people a week. I mean, the thought of that is having looked after guests, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. That is crazy.
So, so the first actual bit of snowboarding was really doing seasons. And when I came back, I was like, oh yeah. And then I went to Chatham and started to sort of meet people and get into it. But it was, I don't know. I must have snowboarded at some point at Chatham before that. Because I remember maybe it was after this snowboard trip we did. Because after this ski trip, because we came back, it must have done. And I remember saying to someone like, oh, I know how to snowboard now. I've done it on the snow. So we went up there and got a board. And I think we went with the school again.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like I tried to stand up on the learning slope, did one turn and then fell and put my finger under the Dendex.
Oh man, classic.
And don't know if you can see that.
Oh shit.
It's still complete.
Oh my God, that is proper mangled.
Yeah, so the joint broke on the wedding finger. So it could never bend back.
Yeah.
And so I was a bit like, get me to a bit of snow. And then, it was the year after I came back and then went to Chatham a bit and then started sort of getting into it there and stuff.
I mean, Chatham's quite a good... I was thinking about this earlier because I don't know why we never used to come down. Because it's actually a good slope. Do you know what I mean? It's got kind of natural sort of features on it. It's got a good steep landing for a couple of jumps and... it's quite long, so you can get some speed up. Like, I don't know why we never used to come down, given that it would have taken us like half an hour probably.
Bit outside the M25.
Well, I mean, we were right on the M25, and we used to go to Bromley Dryslope, so it wasn't very far away at all.
Yeah,
but I don't know why we never came down. Just seems nuts that we
It
didn't.
was good, and there were some really good riders. Do you remember Chris Woods?
Yeah,
He used to do massive backside threes,
yeah.
and yeah, he was something else. So like seeing people like him now, it's like, oh, okay, you can definitely do this. And as you say, I mean, they had a big jump, which they would put like by that third exit, so there
Yeah.
was a good landing on it, and they had competitions there and all the rest of it. It was really good. Yeah, and I don't know where it was. I know Kingsnorth mentioned it. I can't remember, but I think it was like that summer I met Kingsnorth for the first time, or maybe the summer after,
Right.
either in Bromley or Hillingdon or one of them. I don't know. There was a there was a big air, and I seem to remember doing all right at that. And then there was a slalom, like parallel slalom. We had to go at the same time,
No way.
and then yeah, got to the final, and then in the final it was me versus Kingsnorth, and looked round, and he's got do-rags, he's got all the gear, like basically a goofy-footed JP Walker.
Yeah.
And did the race, get to the bottom, and he's like, "Flipping heck, you're riding a race board. What are you riding at?" And he still goes on about it to this day. And it wasn't, I can't remember what it was, but it definitely wasn't a race board.
No. It's so funny because Kingsnorth, it looked like his boots, board and bindings weighed more than he did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like such a grom. And,
Yeah.
he just had a big mouth on him.
It's
it's great.
amazing
It's great what he's gone on to become.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, again, I listened to that Neil episode as well. And it's interesting when you go to Lax and these places and you see how many people there are now in the European industry
Yeah.
who've come through the UK. And I would say it vastly outweighs the amount of like French or I don't know,
Yeah.
Austrians or something. I'm not sure what it is, but there just seems to be such a sort of will to have an impact that everyone seems, whether it's media or whatever else, there's people everywhere.
Well, I mean, you're part of that. I've got that written down as well because, jumping forward a bit, you've worked for you've had some pretty big positions, haven't you? I don't know what your position is now. I know who you work for now, and I'm sure it's from what you've done before. I imagine it's probably quite a high up position at where you are.
Yeah. No, so I work at DB now, leading the marketing team.
DB
DB. So it used to be called Douchebags back in the day, the ski brand.
Right.
And just before I got there, went through a rebrand, call itself just DB, go into surf, go into skate, and all the rest of it. And so I lead the marketing team there. So that's based in between. The offices are in Stockholm and Oslo, so I'm up there quite often.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good, very good, talented team, and like everyone's very keen to do good work. So it's really fun.
Yeah, and you've earned your way there by doing loads of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you tell me where to start. I mean, I was at Nike obviously before that, and then.
So tell me about Nike because Phil Young kind of talked a bit about it in his one.
Yeah.
So he was kind of part of. I can't really remember kind of how much a part he was, but you were right in the thick of it.
Yeah. So I was at Burton. I was at Burton between 2005 and 2010 in Innsbruck.
I didn't know that. I know that because you was something to do with Forum.
Yeah. So after France, we went and did another season in France. Then I studied back in England.
What did you study?
International business. And
what led you to that? Just because once you've done sort of seasons, they can be quite addictive and quite sort of just see where it goes without really making any hard and fast plans.
Yeah, I don't know. I did get a bit. I still have it to this day where like if I'm not making some kind of progress, I get a bit angsty, a bit weird. And so I did 2 seasons, and it was it was amazing, and I definitely had the bug. But I was like, I feel like I need to use my brain again.
Right.
As fun as it all is.
Yeah.
And it was actually interesting because then when you stop doing seasons and you what would have been my 3rd season, I went to university. I still did, because before you go to university, you think like, oh, I'm never going to be able to study. I'm never going to be able to snowboard. And then I was like looking at the brochure, and you're like, oh, so we're off for, I don't know, 3 weeks at Christmas, and then this long here, and then there's a break. And so in the end, I think I still did 2.5 months in Val d'Isere that third winter. And that was when I met like Josh Wolf, Mark Ruparelia, and you may have been there. I remember going round to an apartment in Val d'Isere where Will Hughes was there, Danny Wheeler.
Yeah.
I remember going around there and just being so overwhelmed. We're like, oh my God. There's all
It was like a who's who. I wasn't there, but I nearly went back to Val d'Isere, but then ended up in Borg because the rent was so cheap. It was like, I can't not live here.
Oh, I can imagine.
But that house that flat in Val was, it was the nucleus at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember sort of going around there, meeting them, and I think that was probably the first time I'd really seen like mega like super pros in my mind, like seeing any of those people, like seeing people you've seen in magazines.
Yeah.
And then you saw that and you're like, oh, okay, there is a career, or there's a career here, there's a thing going on here. So still did like 2.5 months. And then the next year I managed to do it where I had to do the Erasmus thing. So I actually went to Finland for 4 months, and I got to ride a bit in Finland, so that was good. And then the last year of university, because I had sort of knuckled down a bit, I actually was like, right, I'm not going to go on snow at all. And I was in Southampton, so we were not too far from Calshot dryslope.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
I haven't been there.
Right. So it's at the end of a spit, I guess you would call it, like a breakwater.
Right.
And it's in a warehouse.
Right.
And it must be, I don't know, it's maybe 40 meters long. Like it's
maybe 40 meters.
Tiny. It's tiny. And it had two little rope tows on either side. And so basically you drop in, and then you could choose between down rail, higher down rail, down flat down, kicker, and another rail. And so you'd go there for 3 hours, and it's interesting. I was thinking about some of the best times snowboarding, like snowboarding at Calshot.
Yeah.
Was amazing because you did such fast laps. Yeah. And it was when people getting into rails, and they actually did a really good job of building rails. And so, that winter didn't go on snow, just rode dryslope and it was I shouldn't say dryslope, it was snowflakes.
Snowflakes.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, just talking about snowflakes, the Thomas family who run Snowflakes. Oh yeah. All the kids did seasons in Borg, so I know them all. And Will got in touch with me recently and said that they're resurfacing quite a big, or they're building something quite big in Southampton.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Because there was Southampton had two dry slopes. So we had Calshot, and then we had the main Southampton one.
Right.
Maybe that was called Warmwells. Oh no, I don't know.
No, Warmwell's further along, isn't it? That's That's where Jamie Nicholls rides.
That's where Jamie goes now, yeah. But Southampton had its own dry slope, but that was Dendex, so I was always a bit like...
Not with those fingers.
With these fingers, I was like, I might swerve that a little bit. So we... No, but it was amazing. It was amazing. And then so when we did did university, and then on I don't know when it was. Maybe the second year? Yeah, maybe the second year after Finland. I did actually end up going to Meyerhofen for the first time with Josh. Right. Because Josh was going there to do a season. I'm not sure if that was because of Chris Carr or something. But anyway, we went out there, met Chris Carr and a few others. And then Josh and I were just walking around trying to find a place to live.
Right.
Knocking on doors. And eventually we found our way to Beckner's mum's restaurant, the one that's over the road from the train station.
Okay.
And someone there was like, oh, you should go and try this place, Gasthof Zillertal. We went there and we got an apartment. So he stayed for the winter. I just stayed for a few weeks. But yeah, it was also, we're aging ourselves here. This was when it was the Austrian shilling still. And
what is that? The Austrian shilling still?
The Austrian
shilling.
Like the French.
Okay, so pre-2000 and 2000, 2001.
Yeah, so I think this was 99 or 2000. So we
Yeah,
end up
yeah,
over there, and it was Austria back then was so cheap.
yeah,
It was a bit to your point about moving to Borg. After going to Val d'Isere, you're like, oh, you can go to live in Austria for like I forget. It was so cheap. It was unbelievable.
yeah.
And had a decent sized apartment. And then yeah, it's funny. So obviously went with Josh, met Kingsnorth again there, Chris Carr, and then Henry turned up there as well. So it's the first time I met him when he had his massive fish paw gloves and all the rest of it. So it was quite a seminal moment in my life.
I mean, that's quite a crew right there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny because there's some people you meet, and like with Henry, like the first time I met him, I was like, "Fuck, he's a bit full on, isn't he?"
Yeah, I definitely thought that the first time I actually met him in person.
And he's calmed down, but there's still days now where I'm like, he's still a bit full on. And
As I was saying it to, I was saying, who was I speaking to? I was saying he must sleep really well at night because he goes fucking full on when he's awake.
yeah, he's because he lives up the road here now.
Does he?
Yeah, and when he's here, like you'll be working, and we've got a little WhatsApp group, and it's like, right, I think there's a wave. It's about an hour away. If we leave now, we can get there, and next day I'll be like, right, there's a wave set. If we go, and he's always on. Like it's amazing. He was like that with snowboarding as well. He's so good for motivation because he's one of those people who's like, right, we're going to hike here and we're going to do this, and it might be on one of those days where you're sort of like, not really sure about this today.
Yeah.
He's very good at that. So,
So what was Meyerhofen like then? Because obviously there's, in the valley there is, there's Steve Gruber, there is a bunch of heavy hitting Austrian riders, isn't there?
yeah. Well,
And what was it like kind of having a little English crew pitching up?
Well, so yeah, probably like I said, I think a couple of years later is when I went for that first proper season there. Like moved there, went back to the Gasthof Atoll, and then yeah, it was really good. And that's what I really liked there because I found like him. I don't know how it's been in your experience, but in Val d'Isere, I mean, obviously didn't speak French at the time, but didn't really meet any French people.
No.
And in Meyerhofen, there was like obviously all of the sort of local, the legend crew of Steve and Volley and Beckner.
Yeah.
But then you had also like tons of local kids who were coming up at the time, like Vernie Stock and Peter Koenig, and some of those who are still around riding,
Yeah.
who were sort of 15, but super friendly, amazing riders. And it was nice because you were like, oh, there's actually a good local snowboard community here. And everyone was very friendly and very welcoming, which was really, really good. And they also had a park which I always felt like the jumps were ready earlier there than certainly in the French parks at the time. And like, they didn't have much in the way of rails, but they certainly had a really good big kicker line. They had like 3 in a row with sort of I don't know, you've been there, like a whippy first kicker and then like kind of a David Benedict style second kicker, and then they had just massive one at the end. So it was really good because you're like, oh, okay, they got proper kickers here and they're ready early in the season, and they had long landings as well. And that was basically the thing that we all went there for, because you could ride bigger jumps and feel like safer with the landings.
Yeah, because France was really hit and miss on any given day in any of the parks, whether the jumps were death or really good. Like if they'd shaped it well, you were like, right, we'll stay until the lift's closed just because it could be dog shit again tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I rode the park a bit in Val d'Isere, that sort of half season I did. And then we actually did I think we did 4 or 5 summer seasons, like when I met you with Vicky.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job up there in the summer on teen.
The teen summers was awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, that was wicked. Like the pipe and just, I don't know, the way it was, like you'd go up there early, you could ride the pipe for 2 hours and everyone would go over to the kickers. Yeah. And if that got too slashy, everyone would go to the rails. And that was really nice there. Really enjoyed that.
So what led you to stay out there in the summers?
Well, I think, that was also when I was studying. So it was like I didn't maybe get to ride as much as I wanted the winter. So I was like, this will make up for it.
Yeah.
And also back then as well, because even if you went to do a season, like the parks might not be ready until sort of February anyway.
Yeah.
And if you go in the summer, like day one, you get there and the jumps are built. And if you're there for a month, you can ride jumps every day. So, yeah, we just went there and it was, I mean, again, it was relatively affordable. And then everyone seemed to start buying apartments there. Like if I have one regret in my life, it's that I didn't buy. I remember Vicky she bought an apartment. I don't know. I think she bought an apartment for about 20 grand.
I think so, yeah. In the
And
home,
then
is it the home club?
a home club, the one at the
Home
very
club, yeah.
I feel like she bought, in the end, I think she bought about four of them, and James Costa bought one, and Lucy. Like everyone started buying these apartments, and I was
Yeah.
like, nah. If I've got this money, I'm going to just go and do seasons. Why would I want to buy them? And then you look now, and they're probably worth crazy money.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. It was really good, and also, again, if you went there for like a month or something, you could ride a month solid of jumps, and then you still had time to go home and work and earn money for the next winter. So that was quite good. And then yeah, no, Meyerhofen was, as I say, it was good. There was park, there was local scene, it was relatively affordable. It was also, in terms of like riding powder and stuff, like there is some sort of heavier steep stuff, but there's also a lot of more mellow stuff.
Right.
And I don't know, I found like in Powder's there, sometimes you'd end up, super young and stupid, like follow a track, and then you end up on a cliff band and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And I often felt a little bit more mellow in that regard. I was like, this is maybe a bit more my speed. So
No, well, fair. I mean, that does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? Really, and the cost thing. And I think, like I was saying to Chris on his one, kind of. Now I'd choose Austria over anywhere else.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely got more expensive. Well, I say it's got more expensive. If you want to have like really bougie accommodation, you can get it. They've done an amazing job of like high end. But then we went at Christmas and my wife's family came and they rented like a little guest house around the corner from the Horburg barn. And they were paying 40 euros a night for a double room with breakfast.
No way.
Yeah, and I hope that Austria never loses that.
Yeah, because they've resisted like the sort of big blocks of apartments, and Austrian towns still have that character around them. Do you know what I mean? Which is really attractive.
Yeah, and they've also put in a lot of rules of. So, for example, when we lived there, we bought a place.
Yeah.
And they have this thing called Freiheitswohnsitz where you're not allowed. There's they've put this law in where, so basically people from Munich can't buy apartments in Meyerhofen and just use them on the weekends.
Yeah.
So to buy a place there, you have to work there, you have to live there, you have to be a part of the community.
Yeah.
And so, we've actually had to rent our place out now because we're not there the whole time to sort of fall in line, which obviously, is a bit frustrating, but it also means that the town as a whole, it's like the prices are still affordable enough for young people to be able to buy apartments there. And it's not like some resorts where everything is Airbnb and everything is, bought by, I don't know, rich people from Munich or something, which I really respect. I think there's a lot of communities that could sort of learn from that. So
yeah, that just reminded me of something about Les Arcs, which when it was built, obviously loads of people bought these little apartments for like literally no money, and because there's no debt on them, they use them themselves, but then they're empty most of the time. And I think the statistic sort of when we were in Borg was something like 70% of the apartments in Les Arcs sit empty for 90% of the season.
Yeah, well, we have the same problem here in Ericeira because it is a beach destination town, and the street behind us, there's say 16 houses, and I think 8 of them are empty, or probably no more, probably 10 of them are empty, and they're busy for like 2 weeks in the summer.
Yeah.
And it's people whose parents had them and they've just been passed down.
Yeah.
And, capitalist society, you should be able to do whatever you want with your property and all the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there is a bit where you do think like everyone's complaining about property prices going up and rent going up and all the rest of it, but there is a lot of property around, but it's just sitting empty.
Yeah.
So, I think Austria did a really good job with that, and it still retains like all of the sort of traditions which make it typically Austrian, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. So when did Hunger Pain? Because that was born out of Meyerhofen, wasn't it?
It was. So we did. I think two or three. I did 3 seasons in Meyerhofen, and the first two I filmed a couple of bits and sent them to Tim and Gendel. I think the second season I went over to Breckenridge and we filmed. I don't know if it was Proper or one of them. I filmed a bunch of rails over there with them, and it was amazing. That was like dream trip to go with them. And then, when the films were coming out, like I can't remember which one it was, but maybe it was Proper or one of them. But like the Friends section was getting to the point where the Friends section was like 10-minute long montage.
Yeah, mega mix.
Yeah, and it's amazing they did that, and again, it's like I'd say one of the cornerstones of the industry in the UK is those films.
Yeah.
And they were so well done. But then by the time that one came out, I was just thinking, I was like, man, there's so many good kids coming out now.
Yeah.
I reckon there's probably the opportunity to go and make another film. And so, yeah, just, I don't know, because when I was looking around, there was obviously people like Josh, Mark Ruprelia, Chris Chatt, Chris Schultz, Ollie Plumley, there was so many. And so we were kind of like, right, I reckon we could, if we all get together and we go and do our own thing, it might actually help Tim and Gendel that they don't get submissions from 200 people every week. And so we decided to start our own thing. So there was a guy called Damien Doyle who did standing cutways.
Yeah, he did the dryslope ones, didn't he?
Yeah, they were amazing.
Yeah.
So got him to be the editor, and then we had a guy called Pete Ellis who did the graphics, and then I filmed some, Chat filmed some, like a lot of people filmed some, Tom Elliott filmed some, everyone sort of just picked up a camera.
Yeah.
And we just sort of, everyone went off and filmed, and there was a crew in Mammoth with Stu Edwards and Dom and Ricky, I can't remember his surname, but he was so good. And there was a crew in Morsey and a crew in Meyerhofen, and so everyone just sort of went off and did their thing. And then at the end of the season, we filmed sort of intros at the board test, I think it was, and then got it all together. And then Damien spent the summer editing, and then James Thorne's sister Liz, she put together this amazing premiere for us in London, and had proper old knees up to celebrate, and it was great, and it was so good because I think we got the video on the cover of Document. I can't remember now. I think it was Document, but it was really good. And I'm definitely not an editor or a filmer, so I was a bit like, right, well, what can I? And so I was like, right, my job will be to ring around and see if I can get some money to pay for the editor and cameras. And it was so good because I remember calling like Scott Todd and being like shit scared of Scott Todd.
Fair enough.
And like, hey, we're making this film. He's just like, right, what do you need? £1,000? Yeah, no problem. And there were so many people, and and Dan and Lizzie at Burton and Rob, and there was I think everyone we called were like, yeah, that's no problem. And I was like, fuck, this is amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that the industry was so ready to support, a bunch of other crew and sort of bring through more riders. So yeah, that was that first season we made that film. It was great.
And then what about the Hunger Pain Hotel?
Yeah, so after that winter, so the one problem with Austria is accommodation is notoriously difficult.
Right.
So the first year we lived in this Gasthaus-Hotel. Second year, we had a spot above a candle shop out in Ramsau, which was, you'd sort of go upstairs, you'd open a door, and there was one room with a sliding roof which had a skylight in it. And then you go through a door which was supposed to be a storage unit, and we just had 5 mattresses on the floor next to each other. And that was the second season.
Fucking love that.
And you think back now and you're like, right, the stuff that went on, oh God. Third season we got lucky, and then we were really at a crossroads, like, right, what are we going to do here? Because we need to find another place to live. And then this girl Sylvia, who lives there, one of the locals, she called me and was like, I think there's a guy who's got a house he wants to rent. And so it was so it's in Ramsau, like the next village down.
Right, okay.
towards the by the Horberg lift station.
Sure.
And it was, I think, 9 bedroom, maybe 10 bedroom, with a garden, with a garage. Definitely needed some work.
Yeah.
And he rented us that for 1,200 a month.
Right.
10 bedrooms. So then it was like, right, call the boys. Right, we're on. And so I was trying to remember actually who lived there. I know Henry, Mark, James Thorne. Yeah, I know Chat. I think Chat had a room. Neil and all the boys turned up at some point. It was just a revolving door, and it was to the point where like you'd go to the pub and you'd come out drunk, and you'd get in the back and you'd be like, Englander House, and they'd be like, yeah, Englander House, and they just knew it as the English house. And
Did you get any shit? Did you get any sort of shit though?
We got, I mean the one notable one. So James Thorne broke his leg one year pretty badly.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he had to take, but he had to inject himself. Maybe it was like blood thinners or something.
Blood thinner, yeah.
And we had this woman next door who we used to call the Ox, and she'd always be looking in through the window and always looking, and we had a little park set up in the garden, and she'd always be looking out what was going on. And I guess one day she looks through the window and she sees James like injecting himself. And so next thing you know, the police turn up. And they're like, Voisten die drugs. I'm like, what? No, there's no drugs in. And then they're like, you're doing heroin. We know you're doing heroin in this house. And it was like, no. And eventually Thorny comes in on his like one leg.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you mean this? And yeah, we explained it to the police. I mean, there was always, like I'm sure you guys had it in Borg, there was always some sniffing about as to the noise and the number of people and all the rest of it. But it was good besides the Ox. And so it was, we had that house for a couple, well, it sort of changed hands, who was the main renter. And I would say it's still in the hands of snowboarders. So I think Chris Kroll is the main, I think he's the sort of overlord tenant these days. And I went past there the other week. We went to Meyerhofen at Christmas, and there's like a BMW out the front, which maybe hasn't got wheels on it or something. It's quite, So between, I would say, myself, Henry, Chat, other people, like I think the house was on and off between various people from the UK scene for about 10 years.
Sick.
And we did actually try, like one year we were like, right, we're going to make this into a hotel, because obviously we'd seen Dragon Lodge and what you guys are doing and everything else. Yeah. And so we did up a couple of the rooms, and we rented them out for a few weeks. But then pretty quickly it was just too much, because there's just so many people coming through all the time. Yeah. And so it was just like, it's just easier to rent it to the boys and just keep it.
Yeah. They're two separate things, aren't they? And that'd be quite a hard mix to create. Yeah.
So you either need to go all in and do it one way, but the house wasn't nice enough to actually really do it for paying guests. And then when you add in, you've got people, doing their first season and this, that, and the other, it's pretty chaos. So so that was amazing. I moved out, I think, in 2007, because I got a girlfriend, and I was like, right, I think I had two and a half years of that, and I was like, all right. And I had a full-time job as well, so I was driving down to Burton most days of the week.
Right.
And then you had people going out, like Snowbombing would be in town, and everyone would be out all night long. Yeah. And then you're getting up to go to a proper job the next day, and you're just like, bit of a
so
tough
your
go.
Proper job was that when like Burton bought Forum?
Yeah. So I was riding. I got Forum and Foursquare stuff from Cara, actually.
From Slam, yeah.
Yeah, it's Slam.
Yeah.
In, I don't know what that was, 2003 maybe, or something like this. And then I think 2004, Henry and I went to Fogofona shaping. So we were out in Norway shaping, and on the way back, I don't know where we saw it, but it was announced that Burton had bought Forum.
Yeah.
I was a bit like, oh, here we go. This is gonna end badly.
Yeah.
And so we started once they'd set up an office in Europe for Forum, because they set up like a sub office for it at the HQ on Hallerstrasse.
Right.
just started popping my head in there of like, hey, getting some boards from the UK, some more boards from you would be lovely. And yeah, and then obviously Dan and Lizzie and Rob took it over in the UK with Spin. And then yeah, eventually they were like, oh, do you want to come and help us work at ISPO? And do you want to organize some like young blood events for us? And so first, I think like 2005-ish, just started doing a few events for them and working ISPO and all the rest of it, which was very, I think if you work at an ISPO as like your first sort of taste of actual work in the industry, it's a very good grounding, because it was like,
give our listeners an idea of what ISPO is. I obviously know what it is, but
yeah, ISPO is still around, but at its glory days, it was the sort of it was the buying show that happened in Munich, and I think it was the first week of February or maybe the end of January, I think.
Quite early on, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was, all the brands were there, and in its heyday, it was like Burton would basically rent like almost like a couple of blocks of the main thing, and then Ride would have a huge thing, Vulcan would have a thing with a crazy party every day.
Yeah.
And it was unreal. I mean, so the woman who was running our part of the business, so she got me and Tom West to come along, and she's like, right, you've got to be on the stand at 7 a.m. So we were in there polishing boards, cleaning, like very Germanic in the approach. But the problem was we were going out until about 4 or 5 in the morning. And and so you would go to those things, and we also, like, we had to do the build up for 3 days as well. So we'd be in there like building the thing, then you'd work for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, and then you'd have to take it down.
Yeah.
And it was chaos, because I mean every brand was trying to outdo the other brand, and there was so much different stuff going on. It was crazy.
I mean, those halls are fucking ginormous as well, aren't they? Because there's all sorts of other. It's not just winter sports, is there? There's like major sports retail stuff happening, and it's a sort of like a city, isn't it, for a few days?
Yeah, and then you also have like all of the Chinese manufacturers that are like the actual factories. They're trying to sell their stuff there as well. But the snowboard one was always like the debauchery one.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had DJs on the thing. I remember I've got some pictures somewhere of Drew Stevenson standing on our booth at like only like 5 in the afternoon, shirt off, sweating, DJs playing, and that was something else. So that was like a very good introduction to like, okay, if you're going to work in the industry, you have to work long hours.
Yeah.
I did like an internship for I think a year or 9 months or something. So like very low money, working a lot, and eventually they were like, right, we would like you to come and work for us to do marketing for Europe, or team manager in the beginning it was.
Yeah, nice.
And I still had ambitions to be a snowboarder, and so there was a bit of back and forth, and then eventually I had this German boss, and he was like, but you're not really the next Shaun White, are you?
Fucking hell.
And I was like 26, could do a 720, but a 900 was a push. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, mate. You're right. And
you had a good, I always recall you had good frontside rodeos. You could throw it off your toes, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could wang one of them. And then I also learned, because of Danny, I was like, right, I'm having some of this. So I could do switch front 7 nose grab off the toes as well.
Nice.
But frontside rodeo style. So I could do a bit of that. But yeah, then he was just a bit like, right, well, you either start working for us or you're not going to get boards anymore from us.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, okay. So it was definitely a bit of a challenging time, but in reflection, it was probably the best thing I ever did, because I definitely wasn't going to be the next Shaun White.
Yeah, I think it must have been around that time. I think I saw you at a ski show from afar. I think I must have been there just helping out. It was a good place to give out flyers and then get paid by the TSA and help people try boots on, and and talk to people, and then be like, oh, look, have you booked your holiday yet? Do you know what I mean? It was a good easy in for me, because I'm not very good at just going up to somebody and going, hey, like McNabb's a master at that, but I was shit at that. So I thought, well, if I'm helping people try boots on, I remember seeing you, and you had one memory is you had this fucking great big white furry coat on. I don't know if you remember this piece of.
White.
You
It wasn't
must
white.
still have that somewhere.
It was a furry coat. Yeah, there was a furry coat. There was a JP Walker one. It was that one, and it was like one side was camo and the other side was fur.
Right.
I remember getting that, and I was like, "This is me." And yeah, that was definitely my outfit for the trade shows for a couple of years.
I remember seeing that, just thinking, "Fucking things must be going well at Forum."
No, I was probably still interning. Don't worry about that. But yeah, no, and then I did sort of team management and events, and then eventually sort of looked after all the marketing for Forum, which was really good because it was like the way that Burton did it with Forum. It had its own office, its own team, it had its own GM. But if you wanted, like, if you needed help, you could call Hazy in the Burton office.
Yeah.
You know, like if you were
You
negotiating
had some backup infrastructure.
yeah, you could go and call him, and he'd take you for a little cigarette around the corner, and he'd tell you, you know, what he thought about the deal and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And you had Birgit in the PR department, so you had people who wanted to help, but it was still very much left alone. And you know, with all the movies and stuff that Forum started to bring out again,
Yeah.
with like that and Forum Against and all the rest of it, it sort of had its own marketing push, very sort of different to the way Burton was at the time.
Yeah.
Which was, yeah, it was really good. It was talk about like his intro, talk about Danny, like starting there, like the first thing in the summer, they were like, right, we're doing a summer camp and we're bringing some riders over and we're going to do, I can't remember what it was for, but like there's going to be a shop signing. And I was like, all right, okay, I'll get ready. I'll get my ticket. Who's coming over? And they're like, right, it's Yoni Malmi and JP Walker. And I was just like, oh shit, oh God. Same kind of feeling, like when you first see him, you're like, oh my God, here we go. Like we're talking real pro. And
Yeah.
it was so funny because like the first time I was meeting him, he's just exactly the same as you see in the movies, just like, what's up, man? Like super cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of made you get out of that fanboy situation pretty quickly because you realize you had to kind of actually get them all sort of ready and make sure everyone was up and doing what they needed to do. So,
And is that an easy thing to do with sort of people that you've looked up to for a while?
It was interesting because with the Forum Global team, because when we did all of those tours, like they would always come over to Europe and we would put on these like mammoth tours where we would go, you know, Zurich, Stockholm, Barcelona, like all around in 6 days. And
Yeah.
JP was very easy because, I mean, he doesn't drink and he's Mormon and he's like the ultimate professional. He knows what to do. But then we also had like some of the Finnish kids we had like Eddie Wall, who was pretty loose. Lowry, Ika was on one of them.
Yeah.
And those guys were as loose as it gets. So you were quite thankful for sort of JP and those guys who, you know, ultra pros. But then the rest of them, you definitely were like, you know, making sure they were in their bedroom or making sure that you'd woken them up and that, you know, whatever debris there was left over was disappearing. And yeah, it was, yeah, it is quite funny because you do have those moments where you have to sort of, you know, you would sort of have to pinch yourself where you're like, oh, I'm actually going, you know, I'm waking up Eddie Wall here. This is a bit weird, but off we go. So
Yeah, well, and also there's the fact that you're then, you know, you're creating a career and a job in the thing that you love to do and that you understand.
Yeah, and it's quite I suppose before you do it, you didn't really understand that. I didn't really sort of even think it was a job, and you just assume it's just, you know, send out some boards and all the rest of it. But all the other side of it, of, you know, as a team manager, your role is ultimately to get the best out of the paid athletes you have. And so it, you know, yes, it's nice to give out boards to people and all the rest of it, but the majority of it was, you know, making sure people are getting on the flights when they need to, making sure they're waking up when they need to, dealing with any problem they have. And it's quite a very random kind of job. Like if someone explained it to you, but it was great. And again, it's like such a good grounding for the rest of your career because dealing with people from all over and people with different demands and stuff, it's really, it sets you up pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all these culturally different people turning up and you've got to find the pathway through it all.
yeah, especially for Americans who, like when they turn up sometimes to a little resort in Europe, and and especially if it's like their first time traveling to Europe. I mean, there was one tour where we had Travis Kennedy and Stevie Bell come out,
Yeah.
and I don't think either of them had been to Europe by that point. And so it's just like, they're what people turning up to watch a film about you, and you're the hero in the film, and they're just like kid in a candy shop going absolutely crazy every night. And so you're just trying to keep the wheels on the thing and make sure that people make the flight the next day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of that was that sort of period working there. It was really good. And again, like working in an office where you could access people like Hazy and everyone else and Birgit and Herman and that crew was amazing. And also I managed to learn German, like because it was a sort of German speaking office.
Yeah.
So everyone would speak to me in English, but if I needed something, they would speak in English. So it was quite useful.
And then what happened? Because obviously at some point, Burton just decided that the forum wasn't viable or worth it or whatever.
Yeah, so I left in 2010, and I'm not sure when they wound up Forum. I think it was like 2013 or 14, maybe.
Right. Okay. So you weren't there at the end.
No, I wasn't there at the end, and I didn't leave because I could, because there was anything
Yeah. Yeah.
coming. I mean, ultimately, I would say there's probably a challenge because, if you step back from it and you look at the assortment, like the amount of product that Burton as a company had to make, they had their line, they had the pro models, and then you had Forum and all of and at the time they had Genius as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many board brands they had. Plus, then on apparel they had the Burton collection, Ronin, AK. Plus, then they had Special Blend and Foursquare. I think just from even if you're a rep, like trying to order that amount of product samples every year must have been crazy. So
Yeah.
I think at a point they would probably just let this, business-wise, it doesn't make too much sense.
No, because Burton went through that whole, they sort of acquired quite a few different things, didn't they? And that seemed to be the pathway that they were going.
Yeah, and in hindsight, I mean, I wish they had kept Gravis going on the path it was.
Yeah.
Like certainly in the UK, between like the footwear when they're Dylan Reader and the luggage, and Gravis was going the right way, and then Analog had its skate routes and it had surf. Like they were definitely going in the right direction there. But then they bought Channel Island and they bought Element and Habitat skateboards.
Yeah.
And so I think at some point it probably just the assortment got so large and the revenue was probably still coming from customs and
Yeah.
but you're trying to prop up all of the rest of it. I assume at some point someone just said like, there's only so long you can continue that.
Yeah, it got bloated.
Yeah, so I fully understand, why they had to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, because everyone always says they only bought it to take the slider system from them.
Seems like a lot of effort and money just to get like
What
that technical thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you ever use that, but the forum slider system, if you ever use that, I don't think anyone had paid any money for that. I remember doing so many demos up at Countertowel where you'd because it was nowhere near as good as the Burton one they have now, and you'd always be like losing screws or this, that, and the other. Oh, it was chaos.
I've still got my wife's got a Genius board. She's got the Tara Dakidas, and it's still up in the house.
Yeah, they had a good thing going on there. Like that, all those brands did really good things, good people. So, but no, so I left in 2010, and it was Phil. And I always tell him this whenever I see him because he definitely changed the trajectory for me. But yeah, we were at ISPO and he was like, right, come around here, I need to have a chat to you. And he's like, I know that Nike are going to hire someone's moving on, and I've put a word in for you. And I was like, all right, here we go. And
wow.
To this day, and I can't, there's a few people in the industry who I can't thank enough. He's definitely one of them. And yeah, so I sort of interviewed with them very casually, and then they were like, yeah, well, come up to Amsterdam. So I went up there to see them at the European office. And then, they hired me as a consultant to build well, at the time they had 6.0. You remember they had Nike 6.0?
Yeah, Nike 6.0. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they had that, and they were like, right, you're going to come on and be the team manager for that as a contractor. And I remember so I called my parents and I was like to my mum, like, right, I'm gonna be a contractor, and she was like, oh, you're an idiot. If you want to leave Burton, you've got a job
Yeah.
for life at an
Yeah, yeah,
Austrian
yeah.
company. You've got security, and she was like, Nike are going to get out of snowboarding eventually. And I was just like, yeah, but even if it's for a couple of years, like it's going to be worth jumping on the ride.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
yeah,
like your mum had the finger. Your mum had her finger on the pulse, didn't she?
yeah, I don't know,
She read a lot of like,
I was
what was
gonna,
it, Board Sports Source or whatever, like the industry
yeah,
magazines. Is she beavering away with them?
McKinsey Consultancy, I think. Yeah. No, I don't know. Maybe she'd done some research or something. But yeah, I mean, sure enough, they did get out of snowboarding. But so anyway, I went over there to be team manager for a couple of years, and it was 6.0 at the time. They were doing footwear deals, and they had deals with probably, I don't know, 80 riders in Europe.
Wow.
It was crazy. And
Yeah.
they were then going to launch outerwear. So it was like, right, we need to get a team for outerwear, cut down all of these people on footwear, and get to like a small crew.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the 2-year period. So yeah, and it was mostly sort of, I don't know, riders from the age of, I don't know, like 13, 14 upwards. It was the younger version of Nike, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the job there, which meant like a lot of difficult conversations, letting people go from their nice footwear deals and then getting a bunch of people onto apparel deals. So that was when we started. So Jamie Nicholls and Ethan Morgan, Kevin Backstrom, like all of that, so getting all those guys onto head-to-toe deals. So it was yeah. So I did a couple of years of that based in, like I just worked from home, lived in Austria, and
Right.
went up to Amsterdam, I don't know, a few times a year. And then in 2012, they asked if I'd move to Portland. And so I was like, yeah, so sounds all right. And so I went over there to take over global sports marketing for the snowboarding program. So including not just 6.0, but also the Nike snowboarding as it was back then.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was a similar project because you had to basically take two brands and make it into one.
Yeah.
Because, there was a whole bunch of riders who were on 6.0, and then you had to take Nike snowboarding. So that was again kind of the job there. So it was, and that was 2012 up until 2015. I think they stopped with the snowboarding program.
But I mean, obviously, when they started bringing out boots, I mean, they handpicked how involved were you in picking the team for that?
So in Europe, I definitely picked all the crew that we wanted in Europe of Jamie, Kevin Backstrom, Ethan, etc. Then I moved over, and that was just when we were signing on the sort of 6.0 thing. We signed Petu from Europe, and then we signed Haldor.
Yeah.
And then in the US, before I'd got there, they'd already signed Nicholas, Gigi, Austin Smith, and all the rest of it. So yeah, then it was a matter of like, right, okay, who's actually going to be the crew here? So that was then getting Haldor and, making sort of one main team with people like Haldor, Gigi, Nicholas, all the rest of it. So
yeah, I mean, that was a big deal. Like Nike coming in and making boots, and the team that they had and the money that they must have spent.
Yeah.
That sort of made the rest of the industry go, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably a lot of negatives that it brought as well, because it probably imbalanced what people expected to be paid and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I suppose, the one thing that Nike always did, though, was like, right, we're going to look after the riders as the very, very best we can. So when we would go to competitions, and it sounds funny now because I appreciate it's probably standard for everyone, but we would take a physio on the road with us, we'd take a chef, we'd get big houses, and we would look after the riders And again, now with like national teams, I guess that's probably what they all do. But at the time,
Yeah.
it was quite like,
Yeah.
forward thinking. But I think the main thing was the product was so good, like the footwear, like the boots and stuff, and also the kinds of boots they did. So there was like when they launched Danny Cass, they did a Beatles inspired one. I've got something. I appreciate this will be terrible on a podcast, but you're here, Chris.
We just have to
But
describe what they look like to the listener.
yeah, so this was the Danny Cass one. So this was Beatles inspired, and with Danny's boots, they always put a third tongue on it.
Right.
So there was a third tongue which doesn't actually like
Just hangs out.
performance-wise is useless. It was just done to keep your pants up.
Yeah.
So they had a Beatles inspired Danny one, and then Giggy had a pro model, and he did it like Cristiano's mercurial boot.
Fucking hell, look at that.
And this one, it changed color. It had like you remember Global Hypercolor t-shirts?
Yeah.
It had the same technology in that. So when you put them out in the sun, they'd turn pink, and when they're in the shade, they'd be blue. And every year they had like, Danny had like a Spitfire inspired one. I did have it, but it's disappeared. But yeah, and so they put together sort of the most amazing product every year, and it was always like really interesting. Like there was a good story to it, and then we would always be funded to go and do some fun events. So when we launched Giggy's boot, we ended up building like a little football pitch in Innsbruck, invited like all the media and all the industry to Innsbruck, did a little football tournament down there, and it was amazing to be part of. And as I say, again, like with my mum saying don't go in there, I was like, well, even if this is just a 3-year period,
Yeah, what you're going to learn and the opportunities and the ideas that you can bring to life in that space, you wouldn't get anywhere else.
No, when I was met like Simon Nicholls, he was at Nike, or he was at Livestrong, I believe,
Was he?
just before I joined, or someone. And I always met, I think it was him. He was always like, if you have a good idea, don't, like money will fall off the trees, don't worry.
Yeah.
And it was amazing as well, because for me, like there was so many things I got to go and do, which again, you sort of pinch yourself. Like I went to Japan with Jamie, where he won a rail event one night, and he won like, I don't know, he won like 25 grand one night. And I went to go to the Olympics with Sage when he won the gold medal there.
No way.
And yeah, and I'd never been to an Olympics before, and all of a sudden you're sort of turning up with your team. And I'd worked with Sage since he was 16 or something, and then all of a sudden he puts down that run he did, and like you feel so proud because it's someone you've known for a long time, and
Yeah.
obviously there's nothing I can do to ever sort of help with their snowboarding ability, but there's a lot that you can do of just again making sure they're ready to be as good as they can be.
Yeah.
And so like that was pretty crazy. Just and it was funny with Sage as well, because like at the time we just started like an eyewear program,
Right.
and so Nike being Nike, they didn't want anyone with different, like they didn't want energy drink sponsors, they didn't want people with Oakley, they wanted like everything head to toe, like everyone to look.
Yeah.
And Sage was like, yeah, I'm kind of down, but not sure about the goggles and all the rest of it. And so he did his run, and if you watch it back, he was wearing some random like blacked out goggles.
Right.
And in his contract that we'd written him, it was like, if you win and you're wearing this, you get 50 grand. And he didn't have the goggles on. And, whether or not I should have done it from a Nike standpoint, but I was like, mate, this kid's just done this. He's going to lose 50 grand. So, and at the Olympics, you have like 6 or 7 different lines of, because like you go to any event, you go to X Games or something, and it's basically just have, here's the public, here's a barrier, here's the rider. And at the Olympics, like, right, here's these tickets, here's this hospitality,
Right.
then security, then national team coaches, then this. And I was like, shit, how are we going to do this? So under each of the barriers, there was like a little gap. So I like sort of commando rolled, dug my way along, got to the front, and I was like, Sage, I threw in these goggles, and he picked them up, put them on, and then someone gave him an American flag, held it up, and that was the photo that went around the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that.
He had himself 50 big ones in that moment.
Yeah, he didn't pay me any of it. He didn't give me a cent.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, no. So it was amazing stuff like that, and then um, yeah, we also got to do well because he won. The people who made the eyewear, they took us all to Baldface.
No way.
Yeah, and similarly, I was like, this is the stuff of dreams,
Yeah.
and got to go there with him, which was. Have you been there?
Sadly not.
It's yeah.
Me and my bro were trying to make a plan. I think it was probably about 10 years ago. And we'd got in contact with them and we were waiting for spaces and they didn't come up. And then just life took a different
Yeah.
swerve and here we are.
Well, if Kingsnorth can blag it, I reckon you've got a good chance.
No, I think the Lax Open might have been like the best blag that I've managed to do. And even that's gone south now. So
Oh no,
Baldface is definitely not going to happen anytime soon.
but yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's interesting as well though in the US because there's a lot of people where like that's snowboarding now to them. Like if you've got a decent job, like it is expensive.
Yeah.
I forget I think it's probably 5 or 6 grand for like 4 days.
Yeah.
But it's either that or go and pay your $200 a day ticket to go to I don't know Vale and deal with the traffic and have to be there at 6 a.m. and all the rest of it. And so there's a lot of people I know where there's like that's what they do. They're like, yeah, I'll just do one trip, go and get perfect turns, and off we go.
Yeah. Is it as good as legend would have it?
It's definitely very, very good.
Yeah.
The one thing as a European, which no one says it, and again, you need this for safety and all the rest of it. But there's always you have 2 guides, like a lead guide and a tail guide.
Sure.
So they have to go first and last, and then you have to, you all have to ski, you have to ride down to where the person is. And if you've ridden backcountry in Austria or in, Les Arcs, you're kind of used to like, right, I know where I'm going, and everyone is just razzing down, and you're trying to do it as in safe conditions as you can.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a little bit more loose, and it has to be. I mean, they've obviously had accidents up there, so
Sure.
But no, it's very like if it's something you could do, it's amazing. Yeah, but there's other. When we were there, like one summer, we had. It's the thing at Nike because you'd always have people who were like, "Hey, we want to launch Nike snowboarding action sports in Chile."
Right.
And someone would like, right, we're going to fly you guys down and we've all arranged all this. And you're like, okay, cool. And similarly, you're a bit like, okay, who's coming then? Who do you want? And then they send down their request list. And so we start organizing this trip. And in the end, it turns to be, it's me, Gigi, Nicholls, and Danny Cass. and then I think it was Andy Wright and Joe Carlino. So it was like, unbelievable crew.
Yeah.
And we get there, and the first day we had this local rider, Manuel Diaz, who was in all of.
Oh yeah, he's on Slash now, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's absolutely insane, like hell for leather rider. First day we get there, everyone goes up, like on I don't know quad bikes or something to like this snow patch. And by this point, so this was 2013. I'd never really actually been out riding with Gigi and Nicholls. Like I've seen the videos.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. So we go to this spot and there's like a blind ridge with a nice landing. But again, it's blind. And Gigi and Nicholls climb up there. Nicholls comes down like hillside turn and he finds this sort of, I don't know, 3-foot little drop, boosts the method off it, just like from watching an Absinthe movie. And, you're just there, like, again, fanboying, like, fucking hell, I've just seen Nicholls do a method. and then Gigi comes down and, like, he's got different style, but he comes down, hits something else and, like, back one into this face. And, yeah, again, like, until I'd seen, like, I've been lucky enough to see very good riders in my time, but when you see those two in, like, really good conditions, you're like, this is insane.
I mean, I took a lap with Gigi at the board test, the spring break last year.
Yeah.
And he was, like getting 5 foot off the ground off of a fucking something, like a little bump that's like 10 centimeters high. and
Yeah.
he's and I was sort of behind him, just like, what's he seeing that I'm not seeing? Do you know what I mean? Like, how's he generating all this stuff? And it's just like you would just ride down and just be like, there's nothing here to jump off, and yet he's boosting off things that are nothing.
It's interesting with those riders who've ridden that long. I mean, and first of all, Giggy has like such a playful. Like if someone said, "Yo, it's a 17-year-old guy called Giggy's turn," I'd be like, yeah, for sure. Like he's got such a playful style. But all those riders who've ridden for that long, like so when we first went to Meyerhofen, like you'd be riding down the slope and you'd see Steve Gruber or Beckner, similar, and they'd come past you and they'd find a little hit. Next thing you know, they're like 8 foot in the air.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how did you get up there?
Yeah.
It's those guys are so good. And then then I'd never been in a helicopter or like heliboarding or whatever. And the next day, like, right, we've organized you a heli, and there's like there's these swoosh branded helicopters and another one to film it. And so Giggy and Nicholas are like, oh yeah, there's a line. So they request to get dropped off here. Giggy wants to go here. And then, this was towards the end of Danny's snowboarding career. So me and him are just sat in the helicopter like, fuck, where are we going then? And then I don't know if he'd said something or the pilot just he like flies us up to this ridge, and it's literally like you see in the film where it's like, I don't know, a snowboard's width.
Yeah.
And he's like, right, you can get out here, boys. I look at Danny and I'm like, well, you're the pro, mate. There is no way I'm getting out here. Because it was so, I don't know, it's like you see in the films. And it was, fair play, he got out and put down a line. But it's, I don't know, when you see it in like the Absinthe films, or you see some of some of those best riders and what they do the first time they ever see a slope, or like natural selection, like the fact that they can do what they do the first time down a run.
Yeah.
Is so, because even when I was snowboarding, for me, what felt like my very best, it was like you needed a park jump where everything was perfect and the sun was out and you'd hit the jump like 20 times and then you could try a trick.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but like those guys, the fact that they can just do it on anything is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just another level, isn't it? I mean, sort of where the line between being a snowboarder and being like an athlete. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like Giggy's a snowboarder, but clearly he's made of something else.
Yeah, and I think when you see, again, I mean, I spent a lot of time working with Sage through his career, and like the way that he trains, and I mean, and you see it now with people like Mia and stuff, like the way that, like the consistency that all these riders have now is so crazy. And I think also just the way they're all able to use the mountain. Because again, like back in the day, it was like, right, where's a kicker? If I need to go in the air, I need a kicker. And this lot now, it's like, oh, there's this, they're like the knuckle huck, for example, or like you see Kevin Backstrom when he hits the knuckle of a jump and does a front three, like 60 foot off the jump to the flat. You would have never have thought of doing that. And it's so good to see, like the sort of that level of creativity is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it used to be that you'd build a kicker into powder and that's where you'd try, that's where you'd huck yourself off, isn't it? Like, not.
I remember that well. That was, we did that in Val d'Isere a few times. And then in Meyerhofen, exactly, like that's where I learned that Danny, like the switch frontside rodeo, like you'd be like, right, if I can get 2 or 3 goes into a powder landing without the landing being too fucked, I'll be all right. And then that might be enough to get me to learn a trick. So,
so what happened? I mean, were you with Nike when they decided to pull the plug on it?
Yeah, I was.
Did you see it coming, or was it quite a shock?
There was always rumors. And then the year before, so I think we pulled the plug in 2015, and the summer of 2014, we definitely were told, right, we need to reduce the amount that we're spending. So we basically had plans in place to reduce the team. So we had like a core team of, I can't remember exactly, but, Giggy, Nicholas, Haldor, a few others, right? Probably 8.
Yeah.
because at that time we probably had about 25, and they were all, some were earning really good money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we started on that process to reduce it, and we got a decent way. We started to bring the amount we were spending down. And also as well, at the time, we were kind of saying like, but we don't need to spend all this money. Like, we don't need to have 25 riders. We don't need to do all these events and all the rest of it. But the challenge is at a company like that, like if you have marketing budget and you don't spend it, they just end up, either they're challenging you like, oh, well, you're not doing your job in marketing, so we'll just take it away.
Yeah.
So we started taking the budget down, but then the next spring they were like, yeah, right, we're going to stop this now. And I think it was a Monday, and there was definitely a lot of tears. Because on the snowboarding program, there was myself, there was Harvey Fernandez, who was at Salomon for a long time, who built their snow program. There was Brian Craighill, who built the Quicksilver program. Bobby Meeks, who was obviously in Afterlane and all the rest of it. The team riders, the photographers, and all the rest of it. And yeah, I mean, in that respect, they were very, very good. Like, they honored every contract. And so if someone had just signed a 3-year contract, they kept them for the coming 3 years. And they just were like, it's up to you but we're going to honor our side of the deal, which was really good. But they essentially said, right, we're going to shut this as of this week.
Wow.
They said, right, tomorrow you have to come in. Yeah, I remember this now. We had to come into work. We also had Sani Alababich working for us at this point. So he was doing my job in Europe. So he was team manager in Europe. We had Dave Driscoll in the US. And so Curtis, our boss, gave us a list of the riders. And he was like, right, these are the ones you're calling. This is who you're calling, Sani. And we all had to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we had to have it done by lunchtime. And yeah, it's pretty heavy, because obviously some people are like, fuck, I knew you guys were going to do this.
Yeah.
Other people were very much like, this has been the best project ever.
Yeah.
People bought houses, saved for retirement, all the rest of it on the money they were paying. So it was, but it definitely was heartbreaking. Like, if you worked on something for 5 years and it wasn't as if we didn't have results. I mean, Gigi had Rider of the Year, Haldo had Video Part of the Year, Spencer had won World Champs, Petu had won World Tour 3 times. It was like wherever you looked, there was Nike.
Yeah.
But yeah, they canned it. And so from that crew, like, quite a few left. And then I sort of stayed around as long as I could. And then I took an opportunity to work in another part of the company. So I went off and worked somewhere else at that point.
And you were quite well ensconced in Portland, I'm guessing, as well.
Sorry, say that one more time.
Well, you were quite well sort of at home in Portland as well.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Matt's podcast with you.
Yeah.
When he came out, you seemed to be enjoying life in Portland.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, for people who haven't been, Portland is in Oregon. It's directly between the ocean and the mountains. So you have Hood Meadows, you have Timberline. Mount Bachelor is 2.5, 3 hours. And then you have the ocean where you can surf.
Yeah.
Portland is really, like, I think for a European, Portland's one of the easiest cities to get on with.
Right.
I mean, it's very liberal, very easygoing, good food, good coffee. There's a football team. Yeah, and because Nike and Adidas are there, there's like a lot of English people, and there's, also from snowboarding, there's a good lot of like current snowboarders or ex-snowboarders. So like we had a five-a-side football team there called the Portland Tinders,
right?
Which was, so Bobby Meeks played for us. We had Brian Fox. We had Ami Voutilainen, the old Finnish snowboarder.
Oh yeah. That's a name.
He was in our team. So we had a there was a really good crew there. And so that was the thing, when snowboarding finished with them, I was like, well, I don't want to leave Portland.
Yeah.
And I do like other sports, so I'll just see what else there is. So I managed to go and work on like a sort of CrossFit for a while, which was very different, but interesting. And I worked on women's for a while, and then like women's training, and then finally worked on football for a little bit. So it's very good. Like Nike's very good for that. If you're into sport, they will just move you around and keep you
Yeah.
busy. So, but the majority of the rest of the crew, they all left because they were just like, I have to work in snowboarding.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of saw it as a good opportunity just to see what else there was. But it was, yeah, it was funny though, and I think you asked a similar question to someone else, but there was a moment on leaving the snowboarding program where they were like, I had a boss and he was kind of like, how are you ever going to get rid of your being known as the snowboard guy?
Right.
And yeah, I don't know, it stuck with me for a while, and it definitely sort of it was a struggle for a while to sort of get that out of my head for a bit.
Yeah. But did you want to get that out of your head for a bit? Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, like I would say that I'm a snowboarder. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you'd be that's part of your identity. There's like obviously doing a job and transferring your skills, etc. But
Yeah.
you still want to be the snowboard guy, though, right?
Yeah, well, I think that because the thing at Nike is like everyone is so competitive and like everyone's just trying to get the next job and this, that, and the other. And I suppose they see that as maybe a weakness or something. And so there was a bit of time where I was like, right, I've got to try and be something else.
Yeah.
And then after a little while, I was like, but you know what? Like the snowboard thing is what sort of made me. And it's also like the work ethic, the ability of like everyone in the snowboard industry is I personally think is so much better than the general average. Like
Yeah.
people who come through snowboarding or skateboarding, we would when I was on women's, we would go out and shoot content for like Insights work and various other things. And I'd bring like all of the old snowboard crew back together. Like so, Joe Carlino was working at Transworld Snow at the time, and people are like, "Oh, who filmed this? This is amazing! Like, which agency? How many thousands of dollars does this cost?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "No, it's just a snowboard guy, and it's like a few £100 a day, and it's easy." And so that sort of actually brought me back a bit, where I was like, "No, we should be proud of this," and because I do think the sort of that work ethic bit that we all have is like, I don't know, it feels very special, I would say.
Yeah, I do believe that there's something. It does feel like there's a lot of people from snowboarding that the experience of snowboarding helps you in other areas, in other professions or whatever. It kind of gives you something extra that if you haven't got it, you don't have. I know that's not the best way of explaining it, but
No, but it's interesting because even if I don't like my wife will get panicky about certain things or, this is crazy. And if you think back to the situations that we've all been in snowboarding, like, I don't know, standing on the top of some peak or, being dropped off in this fucking helicopter thing. And you're like, no, this is really terrifying.
yeah.
I think after that, you're like, everything's pretty okay. Like, there's nothing too much here to worry about.
Yeah, it sort of ruined water parks and shit like that for me because like you don't go that fast and they're not particularly scary. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you see other people screaming and you're like, why are you so worried about that? Have you ever, fucking go up to the top of a mountain and find your way down? Do you know what I mean? You'll be a lot more gripped.
Yeah, and I think that's such a special thing that we all get from it.
Yeah.
I'm very, very thankful to have had that sort of experience.
So when we were messaging before, you said, obviously you're in Portugal now and that you'd kind of left America. I guess you left Nike at the same time.
Yeah.
Or was that all connected?
Yeah, it was sort of all connected. We came on holiday to Portugal in 2019. We came in 2018 actually as well. And so when my daughter was born, I took paternity leave. We came back, went snowboarding in Meyerhofen like the start of the 2019 season. And I was like, fuck, I really miss snowboarding in Europe.
Yeah.
And then we came down to Portugal in the autumn, and Mark Ruprelli had moved down here, Henry had moved down here. And similarly, I was like, I really like, the European way of living.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
There was a house for sale up the road. Went to look at it, and then on the way it sold. Like the realtor called us, and then didn't think anything of it. And then a few months later, we were back in Portland, and then she called me again, like, "Oh, there's another house for sale in Portugal." And she was like, "I'll send you an email." So we were driving up to Bachelor for the Dirks and Derby. I looked at my phone, and I was like, "Oh, that is amazing!" Like, and I debated showing my wife the phone because I kind of knew. I was like, if I show her this,
Yeah.
there's going to be trouble ahead. And so I showed her, and sure enough, she started crying, and she was like, "This is it. This is our dream. This is my dream. This is what we have to do." And so I suppose in the beginning, I kind of humored her a bit, like, "Yeah, all right, let's see." Like, and I was just like, "Yeah, they won't lend us any money," and all the rest of it. And then hit up a bank and all the rest of it. And sure enough, they lent us the money. So we started to be in the process of buying this house, and then COVID happened, so we couldn't actually come and look at it.
Right.
So we were kind of left. A friend came round, Bram, to look at it, and we were left in this situation. It was like, right, what do we do? Because we definitely can't fly to Europe at the moment to check it out because COVID had just started. So we just trusted him. We were like, yeah, okay, right. So we bought this house, and then we stayed in Portland through the first few months of COVID, and it was, I mean, there was, but it was like we'll work from home for 1 week and 2 weeks and then a month, and then there was protests all around Portland, and then there was
it kicked off a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, then there was various riots. It's always had a bit of a homeless problem, or a lot of a homeless problem, and it just, I'm sure probably the same as you. During that COVID period, you were a bit like everything sort of gets on top of you, and I don't know. In the sort of June, my wife was like, well, "We don't have to be here. We have a house in Europe we could go to," and so on like the end of June, we called up the airline and we were like, right, we need 4 tickets to Portugal. And luckily enough, we'd put the water and the electricity bills in our name already, even though there's other people living there. Because when we got to the airport, they weren't allowing people without European residency to get on planes.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but I've got my water bill. I'm just going back to my house. I've just forgotten my residency or whatever. And they let us on, and we came here. And I told my boss, but like on Monday when we had the first team call, everyone was like, "Where are you? It's dark." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm working from home, but I'm in Portugal." And so that carried on for about 4 months, and then it was like, working evenings and all that. And I mean, they weren't, technically with taxes and stuff, you're not allowed to live abroad or live away anyway. So I started just poking around and seeing if there was a chance to get a redundancy package. So I left that winter, and so that was kind of how we ended up in Portugal. And then very, very, very luckily, just before the sort of winter lockdowns, we managed to get to Austria.
Yeah.
And I wasn't working for the first time in like 15 years.
Yeah.
And the winter was insane. So we were in Austria for, I think, 2.5, 3 months.
Sweet.
And it was, I mean, we were teaching my son to snowboard, which was really fun. But I'm not sure if you know, because in France, the lifts were shut, right, during COVID? Or
I think during the first bit they were, but you weren't allowed. I mean, I was back here in Hove, so. But from my understanding, in France, in the first one, you weren't really allowed. You were only allowed out your house for like an hour a day.
Yeah.
And they had patrols going on to find anyone like going up the mountain and like walking up or whatever.
Crazy.
But then the second one, apparently, it was all time. Like you were allowed out. You were allowed outside, and people were hiking up and just getting the best of it.
Because in Austria, all the hotels were closed, but the lifts were open because they had to be open because in Austria, lifts are classed as public transport.
Right.
And so, I love that. And so, like you go to the parking, and normally those resorts, I don't know, probably 20,000 people up the hill a day, and this was like, 30 people. And I actually found a video of my son the other day up there because there's one run up there, and it's like the longest red run they have. And so they were grooming maybe like one cat track just to help people could get down. And so we go on this lift, me and my son, and I was on an Asmo, one of those boards from Volley. Have you tried that?
One of the kind of power surfing things.
Have you tried that?
No, don't get enough power to even think about riding something else.
So that was it. And so because there was no one around, you could just ride those on the piste. And I went up with my son, and so he was 4 at the time. And we get on this lift, and there's a guy there covered in snow, Aussie guy. And I was like, oh, how is he up there? And, mate, it's the best I've ever seen, mate. Best, you'll never beat it. And I was like, but they've pisted at least one cat track, right? Because I've got a 4-year-old with me. No, mate, there's nothing pisted. It's about, 2 foot deep. And I was like, shit. And so my son, poor thing, like it must have taken us about 2 hours to get down this one slope, but it was it was amazing. The Austrians certainly did it right. They played it right through COVID, so everyone got to go snowboarding every day. It was amazing.
Bless them.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the time. I've got to go and pick my kids up in about 15 minutes. So.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So I want to ask you, like reflecting back, not that you've finished snowboarding, like you're out there with your kids and things. Seen that on your Instagram. You're still getting amongst it, but what does snowboarding mean to you? What's it meant to your life?
Probably meant everything to me, I think. It's quite difficult to condense it down, but if I go back, if I hadn't have found snowboarding at the age of whatever it was, 17, I had no clue what I'd be doing. Probably trying to be a boy racer in Maidstone, ragging around St. Peter Street with some old shit car with speakers on the back. We were in a
middle of a riot in Maidstone once. It's a story for another time.
Oh,
watched any of the natural selection?
I did.
Because obviously you work with Gigi.
Yeah.
And seeing him still at it.
And he's 44.
Yeah. It's fucking great, isn't it?
And I think Ed said it, for anyone who's like, not sure if they can still go snowboarding. I think the thing is with Gigi, like he never stopped. Like he just, and it's funny as people get older, you just see those people who never stop. They just keep going. Like I'm pretty good friends with Sani Alababich, and he just keeps going. So every year he's like, oh, I do a back 5 and a front 7 on the big jumps in Meyerhofen.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't even imagine to hit those things anymore. But yeah, it was good. Did you watched it?
Yeah, I watched the finals last night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. That gap, was it Bryn Alexander did that kind of gap sort of over into the bottom of a chute?
Yeah. And
I mean, fucking hell. Just where do you see that? Like, where do you sort of, at what level are you riding at where you see that and think, yeah, I'm just gonna air off this sort of bump.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna send it over what everyone else has been jumping off.
The
land down there.
There was on the qualifying day, Brent Alexander, he did like a laid out backflip off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, everyone in the comments section was like, oh, it's a skier make. But it was like something you would see late 90s where someone just hucks.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what happens. But he did it and he kind of landed. But it was, to your point, you wouldn't even look at the cliff and he backflipped it. But I thought the most interesting person, like Zoe Sinnott, how do you pronounce her surname?
Sadowski Sinnott.
Yeah. She rode, so there was one of those like kicker butter pad into some kind of chute, and she just launched off that thing and didn't even touch the butter, but just gapped the whole thing.
Yeah.
We went to Baldface and we rode past, because they used to do natural selection there, right?
Right, yeah, of course.
And we rode past where they did the original natural section. So like the thing Zoe did, like I think Nicholls did something similar like 10 or 12 years ago. And you ride around it and you hardly even notice it's there because it's so big. And you're on a fairly steep slope and you just think like, even if you just took any speed off that thing, you'd be flying. And I don't know, the way that competition has gone is so interesting because it's a bit like, I suppose, I don't know, Nicholas, Terrier, what they'd all spoken about in the beginning of like taking freestyle to backcountry. And
Yeah.
it's amazing. I mean, the way that they've pulled that thing together, it's so good.
Yeah, and it seems to work because it's had a few iterations, and it's a bit like, does this really translate? Do you know what I mean? Like, can the casual observer watch it and understand what's going on? Whereas I think they've kind of hit a bit of a sweet spot between kind of competition and making it accessible for people to understand what's going on, and yet keeping it core enough for like snowboarders to really like.
Yeah, because I don't know if they're doing the Alaska stop this year, but do you remember they've done an Alaska one the
Yeah.
last? And that, to your point, that I feel like is so far beyond the comprehension of most people.
Yeah.
That you got Travis doing like a line which on its own would be stand up, but then he's doing like sevens and rodeos and all the rest of it. And I feel like that's struggled to translate to the everyday snowboarder. But I feel like this, like, you remember the first one that happened in lockdown? There was one in 2021 in February.
Was that the one in Jackson?
It might have been. And no one really knew what it was. And then Giggy was the first to drop, and he like did a powder line, and then all of a sudden he lines up for this kicker, and like, again, none of us really knew what it was. And he front sevens off this thing off a natural hit, and it was like, okay, this is absolutely next level. Yeah, that was it. It's really good. It's good that they've managed, that the industry is supporting events like that along, you know, whilst there's Olympics and all the other stuff. It's very good that that's got a place in the world.
Yeah. After all the sort of stuff about the various aspects of the Olympics, it's kind of nice that there's a big sort of snowboarder run event to sort of balance it out.
And you watched a lot of the Olympics?
I only watched snowboarding.
Yeah.
Unlike some other podcasts and people, I've got no fucking interest in any of the other stuff. Even the ski, like the free ski, I'm just not interested.
No, I know. Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just, it's like the aesthetic of it or whatever. I don't, seeing people grabbing their skis away, it might be amazing, but I'm just not interested. Like, I've got too many other things going on to care.
No, I know. But it's.
I mean, do you work with athletes across the board? Kind of what you do.
With DB, we work. So we sponsor Mia Brooks, so she uses our bags and luggage. So, but I mean, we're very much small fry versus the she's got.
You're not our biggest sponsor.
We work with Marcus Cleveland, the Norwegian guy, and a few others. We started working with the the New Zealand kids, Finn Camley.
Yeah.
And it was really impressive to watch him ride. Like, it's the fact there's someone who's 19 who you've never really heard of, and he's doing a triple to like an alley-oop backside double rodeo to another triple or something like that. And he's got such a nice style as well.
Yeah.
So no, we do bits, but not much. I don't know. From what I could see, Burton came out of it very well because they produced a base graphic, which is super simple. Everyone had the same board. And if you watch the Olympics, you're like, oh, okay, so if I want to be a snowboarder, you've got to use a Burton. Like, it was fairly well done, I would say, by them.
How do you feel about that? Like, from an industry perspective? I mean, there's not many opportunities for sponsors to get any limelight, is there, really? Because if you sponsor someone with clothing, well, that's out the window because they're wearing a uniform. Yeah. Was everyone always? Do you get to choose your own goggles? Seemed like Oakley were on a lot of people.
Goggles, you can choose. Boards, boots, bindings, everything else. It depends on the country. So, like, when we did the 2014 Olympics, Switzerland didn't have a outerwear sponsor. Iceland didn't. So if Haldor had qualified, he could have worn. And we had an amazing outfit ready for Haldor. Fucked up the qualification. Germany didn't. And now it's changed. Like, I think a lot of the snowboard teams have got outfits that I always cringe a little bit when I see everyone in their team outfits. I'm like, oh, not sure.
I've seen that in Lax.
Yeah.
Which is just, you're not representing your country, you're just there as a sort of individual, aren't you? But like, it seems some countries are like, no, obviously they provide the funding, you'll wear the clothes. And I noticed that. And I was like, yeah, that's not really snowboarderish, is it? But
No, and if you think about the standout moments of the Olympics, it would probably be Heike. I mean, it's funny as well, Heike when he dropped in with the mohawk.
no helmet.
That was going to be my next point. Like, you know, no helmet. I don't think he'd be allowed to drop in today. Danny Cass, and Burton when they did the Olympic outfits for the US team before they got Kappa now, right? Yeah, when they had like there was a white pinstripe suit, there was
the denim.
The denim. They were pretty iconic, and when you had someone like Sean obviously at the top of his game, that was really like, okay, they were taking that opportunity, but they were putting it on another level. And some of the brands, I don't know, you feel like they're going through the motions a bit of like, oh, here's a thing with a big logo on it. It's like, could have done a bit more.
Yeah, I was just listening to, I don't know if you've listened to Matt Barr's Looking Sideways with Leslie, the latest one. And she's sort of diving into like all how they sort of developed Team GB and all this different way of coaching sort of from their more traditional sports and things like that. And then obviously they did well. That attracted other people into it who then said, right, we're going to do it more like a traditional sport.
Yeah.
And it does seem that the sort of, as it's got more popular, it's like, okay, we'll have a bit of that now then, please.
Yeah.
And you sort of think, well, does snowboarding need you?
It definitely, I don't know, I do worry a bit that sometimes it takes away. I don't know about you, but like when I watched some of the men's, it was interesting, like when Todd got with the hot mic and he was like, oh, that's boring. It was interesting because watching the women's, I feel like with Mia, with a couple of the Japanese, there's like a few people on the women's who have like a really good style and it's enjoyable to watch. And maybe it was the jumps weren't big enough, but on the men's, it did feel like, okay, we're getting towards acrobatic skiing now.
Yeah.
Like if you just built a whippier kicker, people would be able to do, I don't know, 5, 6 corks, whatever they want. And I do worry a bit there because like with the airbag, advent of the airbag, it is just like, right, how many of these spins and flips can we do? And again, you sound like an old man when you talk about it this way, but the element of sort of individual style in some of it seems to have been lost a little.
Yeah. And I do wonder how that translates to the sort of the casual spectator as well. Do they understand what the sport's about and all the various facets of it, or is it literally just become another thing that's like unattainable?
Yeah, and I assume we spoke about it last time, but I was saying like I think that's why Arthur Longo, Kevin Backstrom, Mia, like they have this amazing way of taking what looks fairly everyday snowboarding like a side hit in lags.
Yeah.
And you and I can look at that and be like, oh, I could do a stalefish, and then you realize that no, they're actually, they're like 15 foot out on a side hit or something. But it's aspirational, but it's attainable at the same time. And I think that's the challenge with the Olympics. It's gone to that point where, my son snowboards, he's 10. He's not watching that going, oh, I tell you what, like I would love to go and try a 2100.
Yeah.
But then he's, in natural selection, for example, though, he's like, oh, I could do a 180, or I could do a 360. And I do think there is a bit of that, like it can't get too out of the realms because you see it very much in the half pipe now. It felt like to me you had like the top 6 and then there was a big gap to the next 6 or 12. And then you can only imagine what the gap is from those top 18 to mere mortals, like people riding every day. Like the gap must be huge at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, I know these things are by increments, but like the margin of error in the half pipe now, if you're going that high, like you've got such little room for maneuver to get it wrong.
Yeah,
that it is, it's a fucking dangerous sport.
It's
and does that entice people into, if they, I mean, I know there's not many smaller half pipes. People just don't build half pipes really. But
no.
like, does that put people off? Because if they equate the half pipe with a dangerous thing,
Yeah.
then they'll just not go in the half pipe at all. And then when does the next, apart from like Lax and probably somewhere in America, where does the next sort of generation of pipe ride, where does that continuation happen?
Yeah, that is one of the challenges because the piping. Well, we had a shitty pipe in Meyerhofen, and it was cut like 3 times a year. But you could at least get used to using your heel edge to carve up the wall.
Yeah.
And I know with like Tim and everyone over in the US, like there was at least half pipes around a couple of weeks of the season, so you could try it.
Yeah, you might get a couple of good days where they cut it and it's stayed all right for a bit.
We used to when Sean was running, we would go like at X Games. I had a camera, and I was like, right, and if you post up underneath that first hit when he was at his pomp, it is so impressive. Like, and it's hard to see it on TV, like because to your point, if you come in like 2 inches the wrong way, like the margin for error is so small at this point.
Yeah,
and that's doing straight edge. I mean, when you see what Scotty James is doing with like, I don't know, back-to-back 14, 16s landing the wrong way. Like it's so far past most people's realm of sort of possibility.
Yeah, totally. I thought it was a shame that he didn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have liked to have been the judge in that situation, but I did sort of think that he managed to kind of tweak those ridiculously upside down ones.
Yeah.
He sort of Japan them or whatever. And I sort of thought, well, that's what a snowboarder should do. Like, if it feels like, if you're just tucking and grabbing your board and putting your other hand behind your knee kind of thing just to get it round, and somebody else is actually getting a bit of a sort of tweak on there, then I think that should be rewarded. And so I sort of felt that he was maybe a bit unlucky, really.
Yeah, and also different grabs and all the rest of it. And I don't know. I think he is a good character to have winning. Like, you want the people who win events to be, good characters. It helps the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I watched. Have you watched that documentary about him?
No, but it's funny. I listened to a Welsh podcast, these 3 stand-up comedians, and every week we talk about a documentary, and they were like, well, I just watched one about Scotty James, a bloody snowboard. And they were like, right, we hope he's going to win because he's super good and he's great. And I suppose, to the conversation earlier, like, if you don't snowboard, you watch that and you're like, oh, I want him to do well. And you start to understand the sport. So he's a good figurehead in that regard. Yeah,
I mean, I watched, when he's like, I really want to win. It means so much. And then you see him at like the F1 and everything. You're like, well, life's not, you've kind of fallen on your feet a bit there, sunshine. You don't need the gold medal. But then actually I was watching the finals, I was thinking like, it was like, man, he's fucking going all out to win this. And you can't argue with that.
And that's it. I mean, you could see how gutted he was. And you were kind of like, mate, you've just won a silver. But again, I mean, I'm not an athletic ability to make that call, but you could see how upset he was.
Yeah. It is a shame that all these things hinge on, Mia getting a fourth. Well, getting a fourth in a massive competition is a great achievement, but because it's not a medal position, it kind of immediately sort of gets swept away.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that's how far British snowboarding has come, because of Jenny and Billy and, numerous others. Like, it's not expected, but I think the British media are probably go, right, we can do this every year. And it's like, fuck, to get a 4th place is an amazing result.
Yeah, and also kind of, she did it in the right way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. She swung for that last hit. That was what was so exciting.
Yeah.
Is that, standing up there on your own thinking, oh, fucking hell, I've got to, I could play it safe and, stay in the same position or I've got to go and throw it down.
Yeah.
And so close to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you hated as a snowboarder, even if you hated the Olympics, you could watch that and think, fucking hell, yeah, there's snowboarders. They're not just contest kids. They're
Yeah, and I think the thing with Mia as well, like especially on the rails, just like it's so put together. It's insane. And I think, yeah, to your point, as a snowboarder, you can watch that and you can see that and be like, right, I want to go to the Dome tomorrow night and try some of this. Like it's so good.
yeah.
The rest of it.
Right, let's leave the Olympics there.
When I look back, there is so much I'm thankful for from everything that dryslope British snowboarding has done, and some of the people along the way. I was just I was, and I sent you some pictures, and some pictures I haven't looked at in ages, and I was thinking, the stuff that we used to do between like working with white lines and doing I was thinking about it on the way home actually, like the schools tour that we did with Ed and Stu. Ed and Spence. Stu and Spence, yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about that. And I was just I just wanted to sort of talk a little bit about stuff like that because
it's funny enough that's come up in a few conversations recently. I don't want to give away who I talked to because you're coming before you're coming for the season ender, but yeah, talking about the schools tour. I mean, that was a fucking genius idea.
Yeah, and it's what's interesting to me is like, especially now in like marketing and everything talks about community building, getting more people into whatever sport you're doing. And I think the foresight that Stu and Spencer had on that of like, okay, we're going to do a event series and there's going to be a British Championships at the end of it.
Yeah.
The event series is going to go around all of these sort of dry slopes or indoors, whatever. And we're going to go to schools for the 5 days before them and do 5 or 6 talks, give away free lessons to people who've never seen snowboarding before. It's not easy to get money, time, people to do that.
Yeah.
As you said, I think it was genius. And I haven't seen across any sport, I don't think I've seen anyone do such a like a good rollout of something like that to get people into sport.
So what was your involvement with it?
So I did it for 2 or 3 years or autumns. I forget when we did it, or summers. And there was Sonia Shaw and myself, and we were kind of like hosting it. And then we had Mike Wakefield as the hired gun, I think, the skier Mike. And then we had a couple of other people because Mike could go on a trampoline and do like, he could do backflip to backflip. He could do like 20 or 30 in a row. He could run up a wall and do a backflip.
Nice.
And so I would present it with Sonia, and there was always different people based on where we were around the country. But we would do this thing for 6 weeks, pretty much every day, a different school. 5 or 6 PE classes a day we would take over. And they would give away thousands of lessons at dry slopes. And it was interesting because the one in Halifax one year we did, we showed up, we did the talk, we gave the lessons away. The Saturday, the kids came and tried it. And then the year after, and I can't remember now, he'll kill me if it wasn't him, but I can't remember if it was Ricky Barrow or someone else. But there was one kid who came and he came to have his first lesson that weekend.
No way.
And we came back the next year and he was doing backside fives at Halifax.
Wow.
In a year. And yeah, I don't know, like I just, there's so many companies who talk about getting people into sport and doing all the rest of it. And I honestly haven't seen anyone do such a good job as those guys. So
yeah,
that was just a really interesting thing. And it's, I don't know. Also for me, it was something that was very good because it got me learn how to speak in public.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. I always say to my kids, like, oh, what should I learn? I'm like, if you can learn to speak in front of people, especially in front of like 13, 14-year-old kids in schools in England.
Man, the hardest audience.
And if you can get them entertained, you're away. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've done a little bit of that with music. Gone into a couple of schools and colleges. And fucking hell, man. Dry audience. You try and launch a couple of zingers out there, and if they don't land, you're like, I'm in trouble.
Fuck. Yeah. There was, I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was Stoke. Stoke used to have a dry slope, was it? Is that where Jim was from?
Yeah, possibly.
But I remember there was one or two schools we went to which were properly rough, and you're
Right.
going there and they're just like they don't want to know. That was, yeah, to your point, that was the rough ones.
But you just never know, like, just introduce talking to that, it only takes one kid just to be like, do you know what, I've never seen this before, and there's an opportunity to do something,
Yeah.
and can be life changing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. As I say, this one, I forget his name, but it might have been Ricky. But yeah, he was doing backside fives within a year. And yeah, like I think most people had on the podcast, it only takes one person in a little community then to say to his mates, like, oh, come on, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and there's not many things that you can you can try it for free.
no, exactly.
Like that sort of barrier to entry. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned it before. I went to, there's a small dry slope not too far from here.
Yeah.
And I was, there's a kind of kids adventure playground thing next to it. And I was with the kids and we were like, all right, let's just pop round there and see what taster sessions are.
Yeah.
Because I want to get you into it. And the cost for all three of them to have a taster session.
Yeah.
It was like about 100, it was going to be like 150 quid. And I was like, it's a fucking taster session.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a taster session. That's like, fair enough, a lesson or a 2-hour session or whatever further on. But this is supposed to be, you're supposed to be getting people into this, not placing a big fucking barrier before they've even put a pair of boots on. And I wrote them a strongly worded letter.
You're that guy writing letters.
Yeah, well, do you know what I mean? Because it's so sort of close to home.
Yeah.
I just thought, do you know what? This isn't good enough.
Yeah.
This isn't good enough. And, I know the score. And I know that, they're a business as much as anyone else. But the point is, snowboarding's fucking addictive. Like,
you get people
into it, you're going to earn that money back in, over the longevity of it. But you've got to get them into it. And if you, like I could, at the time, it was like, I can't afford to spend that on my kids to see if they're going to like or dislike it. And certainly on a dry slope that is, possibly a bit more challenging than going to a dome, for instance. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you got to kind of, anyway.
No, but it's true. And because most people, their first snowboard experience is like, these boots are a bit weird. Going sideways, this is a bit weird.
Yeah.
You fall over, your bum hurts. Usually it's like, that first one, you just want to be like, right, try it, get it out of the way, and then come back for a second one.
Yeah.
And then really get into it. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like getting people going.
I think so. I mean, I wonder, like obviously putting on a tour and everything like that, that must take some budget.
Who did they had Orange paying for the whole thing at the time?
Yeah, I think it was Orange, wasn't it? But I mean, like that's a big ask for somebody.
Yeah.
And but I do think, as you say, like if you're trying to build a community or you're trying to build a pathway for more people to get into this thing, then I'd say that's probably a pretty good way to go about it.
Yeah, and it was great because it also meant like all those people who came along to try on the weekend, they were also there to watch the local event.
Yeah.
Then they get to see people having fun. They've got DJs playing. They've got free stuff. It brings people into it.
Yeah. And the culture and the right, and the culture, as you say, like there's somebody spinning records, that might be, I got into DJing because of Phil Young. I saw him DJing at the Morrow Jam at Hillingdon. And I was like, I also want to do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'd have ever done it if I'd not seen him doing it.
Yeah.
It's all about these things coming together in the right way. So
Phil's got a lot to. I think if you looked at everyone's career, I think Phil would be in what is it, like 6 degrees of separation from everyone's success.
Yes, 100%.
He's done probably more for everyone than anyone else. It's amazing.
And he still looks about 32.
Yeah, he's still doing it.
Handsome fellow.
And then the other thing I was just thinking about was, so when we were talking again, part of it I forgot was sort of, so I worked at White Lines for 2 years as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I worked for Matt.
Which iteration of White Lines?
So under the Matt Barr stewardship.
Okay.
So 2003 to 2005. So we had there was like a it was called Made in Britain. We had a section within White Lines and it was dedicated to indoor and dry slope. And I'd never really sort of thought I don't know, I never really thought about writing too much. And then I'm not sure from where, but maybe it was Adrian Cairns was like, oh, they're looking for someone to kind of do this part of the magazine.
Right.
And so Adrian was the photographer. And I think Russ Shea was doing some of it as well.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I can't remember if it was Adrian. He gave me Matt's email or number and I called him and he was like, yeah, you can do it. And so it was like, I can't remember what the first assignment was, but I remember I wrote it. And I always have fun with Matt about this. Like I sent it in, I was like, right, I've got a GCSE in English. I think I'm right. And fuck, I got this email back.
Did he pull it apart?
Absolutely tore it apart. Red pen across the whole thing. And it was, I mean, it was very good because I was like, all right, this guy is serious. Like he's not, Matt definitely is he's very studied in his craft. And, yeah, so it was a rocky start, but it was amazing because at the time, and they were like, right, we'll just go and document like all the interesting stories you see. And so at the time, you had Damien Doyle and Standing Sideways, who we did Hunger Pain with.
Yeah.
All of the good kids coming out of Sheffield with Stu Edwards and Dom Harrington, all that lot.
Yeah, yeah.
You had, it felt like every dry slope and every indoor had its own like crop of young crew. So like in Milton Keynes, there was Laura Berry, there was Chris Chatt and the ATV crew later on.
Yeah, of course.
Chris Schultz, I forget where Chris Schultz was, which dry slope he was from.
I don't know him.
But there was, everywhere you went, there was like a little crew and it was amazing. So what we would do would be like, try to go there and then, I don't know, go on some like street mission. So I sent you a picture of, we did this rail by Tower Bridge and we got Sam Cullen to come along.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was on the Bermondsey side of the river. And I can't remember if it was Sam or someone was like, I know there's a rail by Tower Bridge, we should do it. And so we just rocked up there one Saturday, like Saturday about 10 o'clock, and you had to go at low tide.
Yeah, of course.
For the rail to be
for the rail to be there.
And somewhere, I don't know where it came from, we'd managed to get like 2 sort of 5 meter rolls of snowflakes.
Yeah.
And so we made like a little drop-in ramp and then a bit of snowflakes on the bottom, and that was it. And we took that, we did that one at Tower Bridge, we did one on the beach in Bournemouth, we did like some up in Milton Keynes where the Chat and everyone got all the snow from the indoor, and it was amazing. It was such a good moment for that sort of like indoor dry slope community from the UK. Like there was so many up and coming people. It was great.
Yeah, and all happy hitting rails and
loved it. Yeah, yeah, and it was I don't know. It was a really good period because there was obviously there was a very vibrant sort of dry slope competition scene as well. So wherever you went, there was a good event coming up. And not that I forget about that part, but it's like it was such a good grounding because at the time I didn't realize I enjoyed writing, and then once I did that, I was like, oh yeah, this is something I can do. And I sort of still carry that with me to today.
That and public speaking.
They're probably the 2 things which I rely on more than anything else at the moment, I think. No, but it's and I suppose also knowing how to put stuff together, like if you've got some kind of project like, right, we've got a bit of Dendex and we can come here, and if you can get us some snow and if you can bring this and that and the other, it's But yeah, it was good. That was 2 years working with White Line, so I know everyone had their stint, but
where were the offices at that? Are they still in Abingdon or had it moved up to London?
Were they in Banbury or somewhere at the time, or Oxford or somewhere?
Yeah, Oxford, yeah.
Oxford, yeah. I only had to go there once or twice. I was on the road. I was more with Adrian. Like we were on the road with
Okay.
a little band, and he was a hell of a photographer, and he knew it. He sort of knew. Yeah, he was a great sort of flash photographer as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I
He-
think he learnt a lot about flashes from Scamilton, didn't he? I
I
think.
was just going to say, he definitely had the Nick Hamilton kind of style.
Definitely.
You know what Adrian's doing these days?
I don't. Or his brother, because his brother was a pro vert
He's a
skater, wasn't he?
proper skateboard, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? You hear these names and you're like, oh yeah, Adrian Cairns. Yeah, I wonder what he's up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because some people sort of stick around in
Yeah.
some form or another, or pop up from time to time,
Yeah.
and then some people, have just gone off to do other things, and I wonder how you do that. Do you know what I mean? All this stuff means so much to me that I couldn't ever leave it alone, even when I was sort of like drifted out of it a bit. I'm still like,
Yeah.
keeping an eye on things and talking to people and try and go to something every so often.
The thing, and I think you probably asked this on the when we spoke last time for your last question, but the thing that I love about snowboarding community is like when we moved to the US, we came back to Europe and there was people I hadn't seen in like 10, 15 years. And there's never any like, oh, where have you been? Why haven't you been? It's like, oh, you're right. Let's have a beer then. And it's so good that like community that's inbuilt in it.
Yeah, it's quite crazy how much time can pass, and it's like no time has passed
Yeah.
with so many people. I don't know many other communities, or even like really any other community around anything
Yeah.
that has that. I'm guessing skateboarding might be similar, but I think skateboarding is generally more sort of evenly spread
Yeah.
out, isn't it? Whereas snowboard, you had to come to sort of particular places
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas you kind of don't need to do that so much with skating.
I was trying to explain this to someone the other day because they were like, so you're from the UK and snowboarding and why like and I was trying to explain that like because you come from the UK, like you do your sort of apprenticeship and then you on dry slope or indoor, and then at the age of 18, if you grow up in Austria or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I'll weekend warrior it. I'll go, or if you live in the US, like in Portland, you can just say, oh, well, I'll go up every Saturday and I'll ride. But from the UK, you have this moment where you're like, okay, am I going to be a snowboarder? That means committing and going all in and doing a season.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why we end up with so many good, dedicated people because of that moment where everyone has to make that choice.
Yeah, and you have to go all in basically.
Yeah.
You have to stop everything else that you're doing and go and do that one thing.
Yeah, which is quite a good life lesson, I think, because then it means that you do end up in this position of, probably same as you in music, like whatever you want to do, at some point you do just need to go all in on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, that's been a very good lesson. So
Tell me about, so like the seasons you did in Austria, like pitching up that first night when you arrive for a winter. Sum that up for me.
the first year or
Any year, do you know what I mean? When you've worked and you've saved up,
right.
and then you're like, you turn up,
Yeah.
and you've got to do fuck all but snowboard and have a nice time with your mates for the next 6 months.
Yeah, it is. There is nothing like it because if you're not going to work a season as well, you've probably earned enough money to see yourself through on a diet of pasta and tomato ketchup or something. But yeah, you've probably got there. Ideally, you've got some new kit, maybe a new board, maybe a new jacket, so you look all right on the hill. And then, yeah, that sort of sense of excitement of like, right, this is basically the rest of my life. Like because at that time, like 5 months when you're 18 or 20, 5 months is like, that's the rest of my life. That's all I'm going to do. And there is such, you go out for a beer that first night and it's just, you can't stop yourself smiling. You're like, this is going to be the best. Like, this is going to be insane. Yeah. It's, yeah, I always remember going, the first time I went to Meyerhofen was on the train and I met Mark Bouch, Orlando's friend.
Oh, yeah, I know that name.
Yeah. amazing lad. Very, very posh. Got a bit of a posh accent to him, but on the
The
train,
shit we used to give Orlando for his
oh,
accent. Oh my God. We were arseholes. Luckily he didn't seem to mind and took it all in good humour, but we were total dicks.
and I can't remember if Mark was staying on the couch of Chris Carr's place
Yeah.
above the Chinese restaurant. And yeah, you go in there and I'd never been, you catch this little train, like this cute little train, you go up there for an hour and you've got a couple of people on the train who've been there before and they're telling you what to expect and you're thinking like, oh, this is going to be amazing. So yeah, there's nothing like it. I would recommend it to everyone. Commit, go all in, get it
But
done.
just when you said, you're going to turn, if you've worked the summer, I mean, I don't know if people can do seasons like that anymore, but like,
Yeah.
you sort of sacrifice, as you say, you're eating pasta and ketchup.
Yeah.
You sacrifice a lot of sort of homely luxuries and stuff to go and have this experience. So it is to a sense, it's a bit of a trade-off, but like a trade-off you'd make willingly because the good times outweigh the bad every time.
Yeah, and I also think, I don't know about you, but the amount of sort of, I don't know, girlfriends, boyfriends, relationships, stuff you might leave at home that you trade off, like otherwise you'd be like, oh, I'll probably just be with this person for the next few months. But then you're like, no, I'm going to go and do a season, so I have to make a choice here. It's, yeah. And as you said, I mean, the accommodations that especially the accommodation, well, we spoke about it, didn't we? The ones up in Teen in the home club, like 4 of you in a little apartment of like 30 square meters. And it's like it's funny, my wife today, she was like, look at this kitchen, it's dirty, it needs to be cleaned, we need a new kitchen. And I said to her, I was like, 15 years ago, we would have been happy to even have a kitchen, like, because we'd have been doing a season with like 3 other people living in the house with us. Yeah.
When you got those, I mean, French are really good at this, aren't they? Like the fucking, like the tiny oven that you can't even get a pizza in, and then 2 hot plates that's also the sink.
Yeah.
Just like who fucking designs these places?
And also like the rest of the world calls it a corridor, and in France, no, that's a 2-bed. That's a 2-bed. And then 2 people, of course, live on the couch. But it's so funny at the time. You're just like, yeah, that's just normal. That's how it is. It's
everyone's got a story about a tiny French apartment, haven't they? I mean, that's just
fuck.
That's a universal in British snowboarding, isn't it? Everyone's done a tiny French apartment at some point.
Yeah, and you also remember and then you'd hear people like, we're going to go and do a season in America or Canada and have a whole house, and you're like, what? What is this? What is this like fairyland you're talking of?
I know, my brother came back from Whistler and was like, oh, yeah, it's just as cheap to get a limo up to Whistler from Vancouver Airport than it is to get a van or whatever. So we all just fucking got a limo. And I'm like, what is...
Yeah,
they're like, we've got a house.
Yeah.
You've got a house? How'd you get a house? Where are houses? They don't have houses in France.
I remember going to Tim Ward's house in Breckenridge. I think Jono was staying there.
Right.
I think they had a wall of shame, or they had a fridge of shame. And so what they would do, they would cut out stuff from snowboard magazines and stick it on this fridge.
Right.
I remember just feeling like, fuck, if I never make it on this fucking fridge. Yeah, I came back and I told a few people in Austria, I was like, they've got a fridge of shame over there. Like, you better make sure you don't make it on there.
Oh, man, we had, when I lived with Munson and Kenty, on the back of the toilet door was just the worst porn
that you could find French porn.
Oh, my God. It was unbelievable. And then, but then it was sort of so bad that, if people come round, obviously everyone would see it, boy or girl or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we rigged up, used to be able to get birthday cards that would do the music when you open them. We rigged one of them up to the door as well. So it sort of became just this absurd thing that was just like, you just couldn't look too closely at any particular thing. Otherwise you'd sort of throw up.
Oh no, I because if I look back, I don't know how it is for you, but I didn't really keep in touch with any of my friends from school, like one or two.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the majority of people I know are from snowboarding. I met my wife snowboarding. She worked at Burton with me
Right.
because of her. Then we had two kids together. And, even now, like 20, 27 years on, I'm still living around the corner from Henry. And it's funny because when you meet some of these people, you're like, I wonder how long these relationships are going to be. But, going on 30 years that you're still close with your best friends that you met that long ago. So, yeah, and it's sort of, for me, it's taken me to places all around the world. And I think the other thing as well, when I look around, the number of friends that we all have who still have probably made a career from it, earned
Yeah.
money, bought houses. I mean, it's amazing that this very fun sport is something that can still do that for us. Is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I should
And then
find a more succinct way to say that, but
no, I think that's nice. I think that's a really nice way of putting it. And then what would you say to somebody who hasn't been snowboarding for a while or who is new to snowboarding? Why should they get to the mountains? Or even a dry slope? Why should they strap on a snowboard?
yeah, I'd probably, if I can, I'd probably split the answer in two. For
Go on.
someone who hasn't tried snowboarding, and I know this sounds cheesy, I've read it somewhere, but like if you've never tried snowboarding, try it, and if you let it, it will change your life. Like if you lean into it, I mean, the Neil episode,
Yeah.
and then for people who I didn't snowboard, like I not fell out of love with snowboarding, but when we were in the US after Nike snowboarding shut and going riding in the US, just didn't enjoy it as much as in Europe. And
Yeah.
when I came back, it was like, you meet people and everyone is just so they're still down. Like even if you haven't seen someone for 20 years, like, oh, how are you doing? And so I suppose what I'd say to someone who hasn't been snowboarding for a long time is, it's still there for you. Everyone's still there. Everyone's a bit grayer. Everyone's a bit fatter, and we're definitely all shitter at snowboarding. But it's still there. And I think to that point, like snowboarding can also mean, when we were all 20, I'm sure it was like, right, we need a powder kicker or we need a park kicker. And you know, my snowboarding now looks very different. It's like going riding with my son or, split boarding somewhere or like that is snowboarding to me now. And I think that's the great thing with snowboarding. It can change every few years as you evolve. You don't have to have the same relationship to it as when you were 20. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's the way I would sum it up.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. What an interesting guy John is. I hope that our paths cross on a mountain fairly soon. I think we should make that happen. I'd certainly enjoy nothing more than a shred and then a few beers. I reckon there's more stories to be told than we got to on there. But yeah, Jonathan Weaver, currently working for DB Baggage. If you need any baggage, then go and see those guys. I was going to try and get into some sort of joke about emotional baggage, like I've got enough baggage that I drag around with. But I'm not that funny, so let's not do that. Yeah, nice one, John. Hope to see you around on a mountain somewhere soon. Maybe you and Kingsnorth, we need to make something like that happen. All right, how are you doing? This is episode 21. The season is rapidly coming towards springtime. There's been some fresh snow across the Alps. It looks like Switzerland got some, Austria's got some. France is still looking good. If you haven't booked your holiday yet, you are running out of time. The Easter holidays are almost upon us, and then after that, resorts tend to start closing down because the tourists just aren't there in enough numbers. But they can also be the best weeks. I know Dragon Lodge keeps firing until early May. It's definitely a good time. Springtime in the mountains. If you haven't been out into the mountains in the springtime, you are missing out. Skiers hate slush, so they tend to not go so much, or they go up early when it's still bullets. You can kind of have a lazy morning, get up the mountain about 11, ride slush until, like, the lifts are normally shut at like 5:30, 6 o'clock now, like, because the lights, the evenings are brighter. So you can still get a load of snowboarding in on slush, which is, let's be honest, poor man's powder. But I would take slush over hard pack. I'd take March, April over January any day of the week. So if you haven't experienced springtime in the Alps, you really need to. You can ride in a jumper, like it's just all good times. So yeah, if you haven't booked a trip away, then you need to get amongst it, because the season certainly in Europe will soon be over. But that's not to say that there isn't some stuff happening in the domes and dry slopes in the summer. I think the Brits is putting on a banked slalom type thing at the Snow Dome in the summer. I am very light on details about that. I just saw it on my Instagram. So yeah, there are fun things to do in the summer. I'm going to try and get along to some of them. It's you know, as a parent, it's always difficult getting away to, and I live in Brighton, which is, apart from living in Cornwall, it's about the furthest you can be away from anywhere. And certainly a lot of the dome stuff happens at Tamworth in the summer. So it's a bit of a mission from here. But we've got the big man Jeremy Sladen's birthday as well. So hopefully a day of snowboarding and then an evening of reminiscing with mates up there. Very much looking forward to that. What else? Yeah, so there is kind of lots of snowboarding stuff going on in the summer. I hope you watched the NST. That was really interesting. Imagine having ridden that much powder that you can just decide to do like most of your runs switch, because you ride that much powder that you can ride it fakie as well. Absolutely insane. I also feel the same way about those no-boards, like snowboards without bindings that you ride in powder. Imagine riding that much powder that you can just decide to, like, oh, I don't need to worry about bindings anymore. I'm just going to ride without. I haven't ridden enough powder, that is for sure. I was chatting with Matt Barr last night, and he's just come back from a trip to Georgia where he was just getting face shots all the time. And I am very, very jealous. But the camp is on next week, and I'm hoping that the snow gods bless us with some pow, or at least long days of sunshine, or whatever it is. It will all be fun. We're going to be recording content. There's going to be all sorts of stuff dropping on the Instagram that we film every day on that. So if you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, it's Thank You Snowboarding Podcast. There's going to be loads of edits and stuff going up all the time about what the camp looks like. And we're also going to be recording, hopefully, a couple of episodes out there in front of a live audience. Well, the people on the camp, if they choose to listen. They might go and sit in the hot tub instead. But yeah, we've got a couple of people over there that I'm going to speak to, and we've got other people swinging by. So it's going to be chairlift chats, going to be recording loads of chairlift chats to be put them out over the summer like I did last summer. Yeah, it's going to be still loads to go. I've recorded the Ender interview for this season, and it is a whopper. Can't wait for you to hear that. And after this episode, we've still got another 2 episodes to come out. So yeah, we're not quite there, but we are nearly there. I'm not going to waffle on for too long. Just want to say thanks to everybody that supports this, everybody that gets in touch. Dan and Lizzie at Burton, of course, who've been helping out. Start Socks, who have sent over some stuff. The TSA, of course. Shannon at the TSA for basically keeping this whole show running and supplying us with some bits and pieces for our guests as well. As I say at the top of the show, the Snowboard Asylum really have been looking after snowboarders since the beginning in this country, and they look after us here, and it's very much appreciated. I'm also going out to spring break with the TSA. I'm going to be doing a bit of DJing as well for them out there, and hopefully just shredding with all the crews that go out there. It's another epic trip right at the end of April. That is real springtime, good times out there. Yeah, thank you. If you're a new listener, then don't forget, this is towards the end of the 3rd season, and there are a lot of crazy stories to listen to. But we are about 2.5 hours in on this one, so I'm going to let you go. We'll be back next Thursday from the Alps. Until then, thank you, snowboarding. Peace.